championship. Plus, the nation's top curlers heat the ice in a high-stakes skins battle. And the PGA's best in a season-ending thriller. All this December on TSN.
You're watching TSN, the sports network. College football. It's been a part of Canadian sports since that day back in 1874 when McGill University in Montreal hosted Harvard in the very first college game in Canada. It wasn't until 1965 that the first intercollegiate game for the Vanier Cup was played. U of T beat Alberta at Varsity Stadium 14-7. The first two Vaniers were invitationals. In 1967, Alberta beat McMaster to win the first true Vanier Cup championship. The Vanier moved into the 70s, and the first dynasty was born. In all, the Western Mustangs won 4 Vanier Cups in the decade. In many ways, the Vanier's history has copied college football's entire history. They were playing football in Ontario for 40 years before the West began in 1927. And while Ontario dominated the Vanier in the 70s, the West dominated the 80s. UBC's thrilling last-second win in 1986 was one of 6 championships won by the West. And while college football has left its legacy over the last 115 years, the Vanier Cup, like the game itself, is ever-changing. As the sun set on Varsity Stadium for the 24th and final time in 1988, 1989 marks the beginning of a tradition in transition. It really does look like it's real. Live from the fabulous Sky Dome, it's the 25th Vanier Cup. Ontario against the West. Western against Saskatchewan. Right here on TSN. The road to the Vanier Cup for the Western Mustangs began at home at J.W. Little Stadium in London. The Mustangs, in a crucial regular season game with Guelph, trailed 24-18 with 1:35 to go when Dwayne Ford busted up the middle for the winning score that guaranteed Western home field in the playoffs. The Ontario final against the University of Toronto Varsity Blues was the Tyrone Williams show. The big wide receiver scored 3 touchdowns in the first half as Western blew out Toronto 50-20. Next stop, the Atlantic Bowl in #1 St. Mary's. 2-time Heck Crichton winner Chris Flynn and his Huskies ran into a fired-up Mustang team who relished the strange role as underdogs. With the defense on its game, the vaunted running machine took over. MVP Dwayne Ford rushed for over 200 yards against a St. Mary's team that just could not stop him. And the other Chris, cornerback Chris Gaffney, delivered when called upon as the University of Western Ontario Mustangs knocked the #1 ranked St. Mary's Huskies 38-33 to win the Atlantic Bowl. But more importantly, Mustangs had themselves another trip to the Vanier Cup. The Saskatchewan Huskies' road to the Vanier Cup began surprisingly against UBC. Defending champion Calgary didn't even make the playoffs. The story of the Canada West final was the re-emergence of Dan Farthing. Hurt most of the year, Farthing ignited the Huskies with an 86-yard punt return. Saskatchewan defeated British Columbia 22-18 to earn a trip to the Churchill Bowl. The undefeated Queens Golden Gales came a-calling to Griffith Stadium, and the vaunted Husky defense answered with a roar as defensive back Ken Zappernuck stopped Queens on a crucial third down play early. The defense also played offense. Once again, it was Zappernuck who picked off rookie quarterback Ed Kidd to seal a 40-10 win for the Huskies and their first ever trip to the Vanier Cup. And this is it. This is the championship of the CIAU. It's the Western Mustangs against the Saskatchewan Huskies, live on TSN. Vanier Cup telecast is brought to you by Valvoline, the oil specialists. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a dream. Welcome to Skydome in Toronto in the 25th annual Vanier Cup. I'm Michael Landsberg. When you look back at tape from that 1965 game, today's broadcast, today's game from this incredible structure really does seem to be a dream when you consider how far football has come. But if you're pinpointing the improvement in the CIAU, you really have to go beyond this building and today's game, and you've got to look at the style of play. The players are bigger and stronger and faster than they have ever been before. No longer can you simply get by being crafty and slow. The football is outstanding, and we think today will be a great example of that with Saskatchewan and Western. Well, those two teams don't know each other much. They've only played once in their history back in 1974, so that one doesn't mean much. They don't know each other, but I know the guy beside me. His name is Jamie Bone. He's won 2 Vanier Cups in the 1970s. So, Jamie, you know what these players are feeling moments before the game. What is it?
Oh, a real sense of excitement and anticipation. I mean, I'm feeling it here up here in the broadcast booth, so I can imagine what those kids are feeling like down there. Now, the difficult part for a player actually is a pregame warm-up. I mean, he's so nervous. He just can't wait to get into the opening kickoff. But boy, they're focused now. They've had a lot of festivities here this week. They just can't wait to get on with the game.
Now, I said these two teams didn't know each other in terms of going head-to-head, but there are some individuals who know the other side very well.
Well, let's take a look at the respective athletic directors at both Saskatchewan and Western. You have Darwin Samodiak, who's the athletic director at the University of Western Ontario, and Val Snyder at Saskatchewan. Both of those individuals played with the 1965 Alberta team that made it to the first Vanier Cup.
And of course, Larry Haler is from the University of Saskatchewan. Jamie and I will be broadcasting the game from here and calling the action, but we've got others on this crew trying to cover this entire building. One of those is a big fan of the CIAU, Peter Watts. Let's go there now.
Okay, Michael, thank you. I really am a big fan, and why not today with some 30,000 fans here at the Skydome? Biggest crowd ever to see a college football game in this country. A wonderful atmosphere down here on the field as all of the schools with football teams have paraded their colors in front of this big crowd, and the fans still filing in. It's 0 outside. We had a light dusting of snowfall on Friday night, so Varsity Stadium would have been just a little bit damp and certainly very cold. But it's gorgeous in here. Perfect playing conditions, a dry field, and it'll be a good football game with the Mustangs and the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. Michael?
You know, you can get so wrapped up in the excitement of playing indoors and the fact that it's a Skydome and forget that there's a football game, a championship at stake. Let's talk specifically about these two teams right now and injuries. Western has a couple of guys out of the roster they'd like in.
Oh, they sure would. Number 7, their big outside linebacker, Rich Leslie, hurt his knee in a York game this year. He's not playing today. He was out for the rest of the season. He is actually a big loss for them, as is their all-Canadian offensive guard, number 41, Rob Godley. Fractured a fibula. They thought he might be able to play today. He's been scratched. He's not playing for Western.
Okay, Saskatchewan has everybody in the lineup that they want in the lineup. Not everybody's healthy, and I'll tell you, you don't want an injury to your kicker at this time of year, and that's what Saskatchewan's facing.
Exactly. Mike Lozecki, the great field goal kicker, great punter. Now, granted, he's going to punt today, but he hurt his knee last week against Queens, and the defensive back, number 19, Phil Giebert's going to have to come in and do the place-kicking chores. It's a big job and a big game.
You've done a great job analyzing CIAU football all season long, but we've got some help in the analytical department. One of them is Lee Pedersen. The other is the head coach of the St. Mary's Huskies. He'd rather be on the field than on our broadcast, but we're happy to have him. Let's go to the Sightlines Bar and Grill right now.
Well, thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, everybody. And let me tell you how delighted I am to not only be here at Sightlines, which is a beautiful facility here in the Skydome, but also to be involved in the Vanier Cup once again, which in my opinion has become one of the top sporting events in Canada year after year. I'm also delighted to welcome the head coach of the St. Mary's University Huskies, Larry Utek, to our broadcast this afternoon. And Larry, as I see the game this afternoon, it could be decided by the University of Western Ontario trap play, and can Saskatchewan stop it? Let's look at the trap play that Western uses so much game after game. And first of all, how does it work and how effective is it?
Well, it was extremely effective against us last week, and it was effective all year against their OUA opponents. I think the play we're going to see now is only one of the 4 or 5 variations they run on the trap inside the tackles. Basically, they're trying to rely on the defensive team over penetrating or not penetrating at all. They have, in that case, they move a guard or tackle down the line and put a gap and double down behind it, creating a hole for a running back. If the Saskatchewan wants to be successful stopping them, I think the key to it is staying on the line and having their linebackers be mobile behind them.
Well, you know, last week you had great difficulty stopping it, but I saw Saskatchewan play. Their defensive front seven are a tough group, and I think they stand a better chance to stop it this afternoon.
Well, I certainly think I agree with you. I think that they're far bigger than we are. I think that Western caught us over-penetrating quite frequently, and hence their fullback had such a great day. I think that if they can stay on the line, do have the gravity to do that, I think their middle linebacker will be the key to the game. If he has a big game, I think Saskatchewan will be all right.
All right, Larry. Well, if you couldn't tell, we are among the Western alumni headquarters here at Sideline, so if it sounds a little biased this afternoon, you'll understand why. Larry and I will be back throughout the game to offer our perspective, but right now let's rejoin the two gentlemen that will describe all the action for you this afternoon, Michael Landsberg and Jamie Bone. Gentlemen.
You know, when we came into this building today, it's our first chance to broadcast. You and I were looking around going, wow, this really is some kind of spot. But that's not going to affect us. We don't have to throw the football. I wonder how a guy like David Earl, second-year quarterback for Saskatchewan, going to face the pressure of playing in this building.
Well, not only David Earl, I think a lot of the players from the University of Saskatchewan. Western has an advantage because a lot of the kids that live in southwestern Ontario have actually seen this facility before. But you've got players coming in from Saskatchewan, from Lake Lenore and Blaine Lake and some small communities. They've never seen a facility like this. I thought Mike Lezecki, the punter, put it best this week. He said, you know, for the first time in my career, I punted a ball, and when I looked up for it, I didn't see any sky. I saw all these girders and everything else. He said it was a strange sensation.
Well, that was one of the things that Peter Watts talked to Brian Towers about, the pressure of playing in this position, in this building, and also quarterback David Earl. Brian Towers was Peter Watts moments ago.
Brian, you brought your team in a couple of days early. I'm sure now they're acclimatized both to Toronto and to the Skydome.
Yeah, for sure. We practiced in here 3 times, and yesterday's workout was just like another stadium, and we're ready to play.
You have prepared any differently for this game, particularly stopping that trap play of Western's?
Well, not really. You know, we face some pretty good running teams. University of Calgary can run the ball very well, and we're just hoping front seven can do the job physically. They have all year, and as I say, if Western beats us today, it's because they're physically better.
How well does David Earl have to play for you to win this game?
Well, he's played pretty consistent all year. You know, the last 2 games, he's taken a little heat from the media, but he started both games 6 for 7 2 weeks ago against BC, and then 7 for 8 last week against Queens, and then, you know, he tailed off a little bit, but I think he'll be ready.
I guess in one way we kind of have to plead guilty. The criticism that Towers is talking about has basically come from you and I. But really, when you look at Earl's performance over the 2 playoff games, they've won in spite of him rather than with him, I think.
Well, Michael, he had a great season, and you can't take anything away from David Earl during the season, but really in the last 2 playoff games that Saskatchewan has been in, he struggled a little bit. We saw the game against UBC. He didn't probably play as well as he was capable of playing, and probably as how he wanted to play. And again, against Queens, he started off pretty good. I think he hit 7 of 8 passes, but he got that cold arm, and he just couldn't seem to put it together. But I'll tell you, today, he's going to have to play a very good game for them to win.
Well, if you look at Earl, you probably think maybe confidence will be a factor. This is a big and intimidating building. He hasn't played well for a couple of games. But same thing for the entire Western Mustangs. They've lost 4 straight Vanier Cups. This team has to wonder whether or not they're cut out to win a Vanier Cup now.
Well, I was part of 3 of those Vanier Cups they lost, so I know what you're talking about. Actually, when Larry Haler brings his team in here today, I think that no matter what he says, I think that's still going to be in the back of their minds. It's something that they're going to have to contend with, and to be very focused today and forget about the past. This is a different team. This is not the team of 1985, not the team of 1986. They're the Mustangs of 1989.
Maybe easier said than done, though.
I agree totally. I mean, it's really tough, that psychological part. I mean, take a look at Western against Western teams, Canada West teams. They're 0-6 since 1977.
Let's find out now from Larry Haler. Peter Watts spoke to him a few moments ago about the jinx of the Vanier Cup and also about their all-important running game.
Larry, your team has had good success getting to the Vanier Cup in the decade of the 80s, but not great success winning it. Have you prepared any differently this time?
Well, yeah, I guess the joke would be I've worn the same socks and the same underwear and the same undershirts for the last 5 weeks. But no, we've not had great success in the 80s in terms of this game, but we've had great success in terms of getting here. And I guess maybe the longer we're here, the odds are more in our favor that regardless of what we do as a coaching staff, we might have to win one. Might as well be this one.
What can you do if Saskatchewan is successful in stopping your running game? Can you win the game?
Well, I think so. We know that Saskatchewan's going to be a very difficult club to run the ball well on, and we know that they're going to gang up on our fullback. That's a given. And so consequently, we've been trying to prepare a little bit more towards the other things that complement our fullback. And I suppose the test of our offense is going to be, given that they take Dwayne Ford in the inside game away from us, can we go to the other things that we believe are a part of our offense? That's the test any great football team brings to us, and that's the test Saskatchewan will bring to us.
One of the real tough things to do in sport is play a huge game the week before and then try to get up for it the next week. Last week, Western went into St. Mary's, beat Chris Flynn and the #1 St. Mary's Huskies, and a lot of people are wondering whether they'll have anything left today, whether they'll be let down.
Well, I think if I talked to Larry Haler during the week, and he said, hey, this is probably the most focused we've ever been at a Vanier Cup. I was with him a few times when he was here, and I know there are all the festivities, you can kind of get distracted, but he said, no, we have a mission, and our mission is to win the Vanier Cup, no letdown. He knows Saskatchewan's a good football team, and he's got his work cut out for him.
You get that mission when you've lost 4 straight, as the Western Mustangs have. The first decision of the game for Larry Haler and Brian Towers is kickoff. Who'll defend what end for the official coin toss? Let's go down to field level. The kickoff is just moments away of the Vanier Cup. Terry Eisler of the Saskatchewan Huskies is the captain of the Huskies. He gives the call, and it is difficult to say as Ken Green, the head referee, decides who will be kicking and who will be defending what end. I believe the Western Mustangs have won the toss, and let's find out who kicks and who receives in this, the 25th annual Vanier Cup. You couldn't see whose shoulder he was patting on, but we do know that it will be the Saskatchewan Huskies that will get the ball first. The Huskies have a well-balanced offense. They can rush and they can pass. The question is, how well will quarterback David Earl pass today? He struggled in the 2 games in the playoffs so far, coming off an outstanding season. He has well-balanced core of receivers with Dan Farthing, last year's All-Canadian and Heck Crichton Award winner, but the passing game left something to be desired last week against Queens. We'll see the Saskatchewan offense first, and right now it's the ceremonial kickoff. Ray Natishin, the Governor General-elect of this country, that is, I guess you could call it a company in one sense, will be the kicker. The holder will be Trevor Eaton, the honorary chairman of the '89 Vanier Cup Festival, and also in the crowd there, Leon Abbott, president of the CIAU, Bob Pugh, executive vice president, and Norm Davison, president of the Vanier Cup Management Committee. Now, I said holder. It doesn't look like they need a holder right now. It might be a ceremonial hold as well as a ceremonial kick.
That's right. They also should have a ceremonial receiver.
And it's interesting, and we'll talk to Leon Abbott at halftime as to whether or not there's actually practice that goes on. We'll talk to Ray Natishin as well, the man who'll be doing the kicking, the Governor General designate, and we'll find out whether he practiced for this, as did Pierre Trudeau some years ago. Trudeau didn't have the great kick when he practiced, and this one is a pretty good kick, and I think they reversed it on us. That was Trevor Eaton who did the kick, and that was Leon Abbott who did the holding. So a last-minute roster change for the Vanier Cup. Ceremonial kickoff, but the story to come is the official kickoff. The 25th annual Vanier Cup is just moments away, and we'll show you the parade of colors as schools from all across this country paraded indoors to the Sky Dome and the Vanier Cup. We'll be back with the opening kickoff and see what the Huskies can do with the ball when we return to Sky Dome on TSN.
People who think all motor oils are the same should have their heads examined. Just look at his head. See the sludge that can build up? The scoring on this piston. And this metal wearing away because someone didn't give their oil a second thought. Well, think about it. And switch to premium Valvoline all climate. Beats every car manufacturer's warranty specs. There's nothing rated higher than Valvoline. Nothing.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps?
Clinically proven Back Guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain.
Amazing. Something down here can help up here.
New Back Guard from Dr. Scholl's.
Thursday night, the Toronto Maple Leafs face off against the Boston Bruins, live from Boston Garden. Jim Newsom, Jerry Green, and Jim Van Horn bring you Molson's the NHL tonight. The Maple Leafs and the Bruins this Thursday night, starting at 7:30 Eastern on TSN.
Welcome back to Sky Dome in Toronto. I'm Michael Landsberg along with Jamie Bone. We are set to go in the 25th annual Vanier Cup, first ever played indoors. The Western Mustangs will move right to left. They'll kick it off. That is Steve McCann, and he kicks it well. This is Rob Simchuk from his 20-yard line. Simchuk out over the 30 to the 35-yard line. 50 yards on the kick, 20 on the return. And you take a look at David Earl, the quarterback, as he gets last-minute instructions from Brian Towers, his head coach, who's expressed confidence in the way Earl would play today. It hasn't been a great playoff so far. A big, strong offensive line. Lesmeister, Neufeld, Wilkinson, Hobbs, and Eltham, they run equally well to the left and to the right, and they run equally well from the halfback and the fullback. Both Eisler and Simchuk carry the ball, and both catch the ball out of the backfield. Here's the strength of this offense. Farthing, Sander, Gertner with outstanding speed and Rob Revering. 1st and 10 for Saskatchewan, right at the 35-yard line. Farthing going in motion, 3 wide receivers to the left, now 3 receivers to the right, and Earl comes out throwing and completes it to Gertner, and Gertner picks up 5. It'll be 2nd down and 5. Right away they test the right side of that Western defense, and Darryl Ford specifically. Kolachuk, Lane, Walker, and Lindy. A good, strong defensive line for the Western Mustangs. Bury, Clements on the outside. LaFontaine, maybe the best middle linebacker in Ontario play, and one of the best against the country. He's a big play guy who can find the ball. Gallo, Ristine, Goodwin, Bean, and Darryl Ford. That was where Halifax, St. Mary's tested, and that's where Saskatchewan came out. 2nd and 5 for David Earl. And they throw it, and a nice reception by Eisler. Eisler fights ahead, and that last little bit of fighting got him the 1st down.
Well, you can really tell what Saskatchewan is trying to do. They're coming out here. They want to give David Earl confidence. And so what they're doing is saying, hey, we're just going to go down and start throwing the ball, and you get some completions, and you start to feel comfortable and get into the game.
Eisler made a fine catch. He might have the best hands on this team. He actually led the West in pass receiving last year. Didn't go to him nearly as much this year. He caught 13 during the regular season, but Eisler has those golden hands, and he can get a 1st down as he did there. Saskatchewan on the move at its 47. First carry of the game for Eisler. And there you saw Mike Lindley fight off the block and bring him down, but not before Eisler had picked up 6. It'll be 2nd and 4.
Well, I think it was really important that they're starting to give the David Earl a little bit of confidence. Now they want to try and establish the running game, and who's going to establish it for Saskatchewan? None other than Terry Eisler. I mean, this year he carried the ball 117 times, 611 yards. Now, not as good an average as Simchuk. He only had a 5.2-yard average. They used Simchuk a little less sparingly, but he's got a 7.7-yard average.
2nd down and 4 for Saskatchewan, and David Earl. They're on the move early in this Vanier Cup. First possession. Eisler nowhere to go. Great penetration by Chris Walker, and Walker and a number of other Western players limit the gain to only 1, and Saskatchewan will kick it away.
Come on! Well, I think Saskatchewan has to be fairly pleased with their first drive right now, because they came out and started to establish some things. They got David Earl some confidence. We take a look at Larry Haler on the sidelines.
Now, he smiled there, and we saw him all last week. You and I broadcast the game, smiling against St. Mary's. He appears to be far looser than you'd expect, given the significance of the game.
Yeah, I think Larry's a lot looser this year, and I think his team is more focused than I've ever seen them before coming here to the Vanier Cup.
Mike Lindley is down, and that would be a terrible injury for the Western Mustangs. Saskatchewan has received some injuries as well. We talked about Mike Lezecki. He's the punter and place kicker. Watch, and you can just barely see the injury. This is from several weeks ago. Mike Lezecki, the place kicker, kicking against the UBC Thunderbirds. And again, he is the place kicker. Watch from the far right side, and you see Lezecki just go down at the bottom, and they're paying for that injury right now.
Well, they sure are. I mean, you've got Phil Giebert, who had to come in now in this particular game and do the field goal kicking. He is really not familiar with doing the field goal kicking. He's done some in the past, but obviously whenever you lose a kicker, a person that can put points on the board for you, that has to be a big blow. Now, he is going to do the punting today.
Lezecki will punt here. That's why you're looking at number 78. Giebert was 2 for 3 last week, place kicking against the Queens Golden Gales.
Now, as we see Mike Lindley come off the field here, this is a player that Western cannot afford to lose. I mean, they've already lost Lindley that plays outside this year. Lindley comes in and replaces him. I mean, they're down to their 3rd person right now going in there.
Lezecki will kick it away to 2 fine return men. David Sapunjas, number 27, and Rob Stewart, number 33. Sapunjas, in particular, is very dangerous. And it's a nice kick by Lezecki, as you'd expect, to Sapunjas at his 17-yard line. And Sapunjas got room, and he might be the fastest player on the field, and he gets tripped up just from behind. Boy, that play looked like it might go all the way, but a possible saving tackle by Trevor Maurer.
Well, David Sapunjas is really one of the most dangerous football players in the OUA, and in fact in Canada. He just takes this, and watch how he cuts upfield. He doesn't try to outrun that. Breaks a tackle here, and really a game-saving, or a TD-saving, I should say, tackle there by number 34, Trevor Maurer.
24 on the return, only 11 on the net for the punt by Lezecki. 41-yard line is where Western will scrimmage the ball. Their quarterback is Chris Gaffney, and here's Rob Stewart following the lead block of Pat Mann. and Stewart picks up 12, but this one might come back. Looks like there may have been holding as we show you the offensive line of the Western Mustangs, and their specialty is the trap blocking. They're not that big. Radulovic, Krupi, who loves to get out in front and block. Dumoulin, the big center, biggest man on the offensive line, Mann, and Scott Douglas. The backfield, Chris Gaffney playing effectively, if not spectacularly. Dwayne Ford with 219 yards last week. And Ron Stewart, as this play will come back, and in fact, it will be holding. The receivers are very interesting, Western. I know that you think that these guys are waiting to break out. Sapundis, in particular, is a favorite of yours. Williams, Ribby was all Canadian at tight end, and Clausen is more of a runner than anything else.
Well, that's right. I mean, everybody talks about Tyrone Williams and David Sapundis, but really you can't forget Tipper Ribby. He had the big game last week, the all-Canadian selection from Western this year at the receiving spot. 19 receptions this year, 21.7 yard average. Not bad for an inside receiver.
It was rough play against Western, so it'll be 1st and 25 at the 25. And Gaffney throws it up for big Tyrone. He's got the size to come back, but matched very nicely by Errol Brown.
Well, they try to go long, but Errol Brown is playing on Tyrone right now. Now, granted, there's a size difference there. Errol Brown's only 5'11", Tyrone 6'5". But Errol Brown is no slouch in the speed department. I mean, he was the fastest high school player in Saskatchewan, or high school athlete in Saskatchewan, and also competed with the Canada Games team representing Saskatchewan this year in Saskatoon. Now, the problem with that last play there, Michael, is Chris waited too long to throw the ball deep. So what happened is Tyrone gets down the field about 20 yards. By the time he releases it, he has to throw a 55, 60-yard pass.
Williams lines up wide to the right, and Brown follows him there. So Saskatchewan flip-flopping their cornerback. Sapundis to the left, and they lay it up, and we may see a pass interference call. There was a bump while the ball was in the air. Mike Clausen was running for it. He was bumped, but no call. Dean Iwanger, a 6th defensive back, in for the passing situation, gave him a bump.
See Larry Haler talking to the camera. I don't know who that was directed to, but obviously showing his displeasure about the call.
Good coverage, and it was difficult to say whether there was intent there and who was instituting. Was it Clausen or Iwanger? John LeClaire, and you have to give the edge with a healthy Lezecki to punting strictly to Saskatchewan and place kicking, but Lezecki, of course, is not healthy. Here's a low kick. And fielded on the fly, and now they'll get a no yards call. So it is in Western territory, and it will come further to the Western goal line. No yards will be the call against the Western Mustangs. Saskatchewan has the ball and has great field position in this, the 25th annual Vanier Cup on TSN.
Before Passport International Automobiles would select the Isuzu Trooper 2 from Japan as its 4x4, it had to pass the toughest off-road test a 4x4 can face. An off-road challenge more daunting than the Baja 1000 or the Australian Outback. Your driveway, the Isuzu Trooper 2. If it can make it here, it can make it anywhere.
The report on Mike Lindley of the Western Mustangs. He has aggravated a sprained right knee, but I think he'll try it. He'll be back in the lineup. Good first quarter so far. Great atmosphere down here on the sidelines. My goodness, noisy. Michael, enjoy it.
We certainly are. 10:38 to play in the first quarter between the Huskies and the Western Mustangs, and there is still no score. Huskies had the ball once, got one first down on 2 straight passes. Then they went to the ground game and could not pick up the first down. But they do have outstanding field position. No yards was the call. Wasn't a great kick, so 31-yard line is where Saskatchewan will begin. Apparently some Saskatchewan fans made the trip. There's certainly a lot of Western Mustangs here. I formation. Simchuk is the short back. He'll lead the way for Eisler. And they go deep to Gertner, and Gertner is well covered, picked off by Pat Gallo in the end zone.
Wow, what a great play by Pat Gallo. Just when you thought Saskatchewan had all the momentum going for them, Pat Gallo takes it away.
Well, you know the philosophy of Brian Towers. They got the great field position. They came out and went deep, but did they go to the wrong side?
Well, Earl just puts it up. Now, what a great play down here. If you can just see it coming into the screen, it goes up to the highest point to get the football, and that's the key to it. Now, Gardner's got very good speed out here. They like to isolate him outside. They throw to the wide side of the field. And you notice when Gallo turns around, he locates the ball immediately, and then he goes up to the highest point. get the football.
Pat Gallo went down in the end zone, so they get the ball at the 10-yard line of the CIAU. Gaffney has thrown once. It was incomplete. This one is reception. A dangerous-looking pass. Sapunjas waited a bit for it, but makes the reception in front of Jason Huell, who's starting only his second game.
That's right. I mean, Dean Iwanger was the starter there for most of the season, but I believe that he's been aggravated by some injuries, and Brian Towers decided to put Jason Huell, and Jason Huell had actually a great game last week in his debut, intercepting a pass and returning it for a touchdown.
We're 6 minutes in. Still, we haven't seen Dwayne Ford on the inside trap, the identity, as you call it, of the Western Mustangs. And here is Dwayne Ford on the trap, and Ford limited to only a couple, maybe four. It'll be 2nd down and 6. And let's show you the defense that Saskatchewan is putting forth against Western, and they are really big along the defensive line. Actually, the front 7 are probably the strength. Dutton, all-Canadian. He's a fine pass rusher in his 3rd year. Kalmakoff and Hunseth, the linebackers, and really, you could say that Greg Mamer's a stand-up, and Palaga and Carlton very strong in the middle. Palaga only began starting at the end of the year. Errol Brown, Zapernuk, and Giebert, very good. Dewar and Huell a little less tested. Let's see if that's where they go. 2nd down and 7 for Western. And here's Clausen on the slot back reverse, and Clausen cuts it back very nicely, and it was that last cutback that got him the 1st down.
Well, we've talked about Mike Clausen this season. He really has been a great addition to the Mustangs because David Sapunjas was playing slot earlier this year, and they put him outside. And this is the play that we saw against St. Mary's last week. They love the slot back sweep. You get Pat Mann out in front throwing a good block, and that was a block that actually sprung him to the 1st down. Now here's David Sapunjas, number 27. Watch this block here. Oh, actually just missed him out of our screen.
34-yard line. Western on the move with 2 straight 1st downs. They began at their 10 after the Gallo interception. Here's Ford, and Ford brought down. Good inside tackle by one of the linebackers. I think it was Del Palaga.
Now, that's where you might have a little bit of a mismatch, the way that Western are going to try to run the trap, because they're going to bring down Tibber Ribby, the tight end, to try and get down on Del Palaga. Now, Ribby is 6'1", 200 pounds. Look at Palaga, 6 feet, 235, a real strong guy. There might be a little bit of a mismatch there.
Palaga began starting only at the end of the year. He's in his 2nd year, but he's more a veteran than anything else. 25 years old, played junior football. 2nd down and 8 for the Mustangs at the 36. Gaffney with lots of time, and he overthrows the receiver, David Sapunjas, who appeared to find some room in the Saskatchewan defense, but Gaffney put it too high, and Western will have to kick it away with 7:47 to play as Larry Haler looks for his 1st Vanier Cup win as a head coach. He's been in 2, lost both to Western teams, Calgary and then the heartbreaker to UBC.
Well, we're really not seeing much different from Western right now. They're coming out trying to play a physical game, establish the run right off the bat. That is their identity. They make no... all the way.
They don't disguise it at all.
They don't, not at all.
They disguise the way they run it.
Right.
Now, you tell me they run 5, 6 different variations of the trap?
That's correct, and I'm sure Saskatchewan's going to see every one of them today.
Again, a short kick by Leclerc, fielded on the fly by Gertner, and he can fly. Gertner, oh, very close, like Sapunjas, his counterpart, to breaking a big one. And the tackle made by Mike LaFontaine, the terrific middle linebacker of the Western Mustangs. 7:20 to play in the 1st quarter in our 1st ever Vanier Cup telecast on TSN. It is our pleasure to be here.
Tight end, ran 21 goal to the angle left. So it's angling the tight end. Are the tackles angling? Yes. Okay.
Well, they're inside shade.
Inside shade what? Inside eye?
Inside eye. 4
Inside eye on
Okay, what he's talking about there, he's trying to see the tackles are trying to angle into those B gaps to take away the trap.
1st and 10, Earl to the air, feels some pressure, and over the head, intending it for wide receiver, number 7. That's Tim Irvin. Now, you said B gap. Explain to us what B gap is.
Okay, well, when you take a look, the center is there, and then you have the guards are next to them, and then you have the tackles. Now, between the guard and center, you have what they call the A gap. Between the guard and tackles is B gap, and so on and so forth. It just keeps going out. And what he's saying is that the way they're lined up right now, they're playing inside eye. Rob Dutton's playing inside of Nenad Radulovic and Hunseth inside of Scott Douglas, and they're trying to take away those B gaps so that the tackle can't get down on the linebacker.
Earl throws it up for Farthing, but it's picked off right into the hands of Darryl Ford, and he can run with it when he gets it. There is a penalty marker down. Ford forced out of bounds, and with his helmet off at the 30-yard line, he's okay, but let's see what the call is. A lot riding on this as Ford brought it back to the 30-yard line of Saskatchewan. The pass, I think, was intended for Dan Farthing, but it was a good 10 feet over his head.
Well, this is the situation that I don't think Saskatchewan want to get themselves into. Second and long, and really not a receiver there. Obviously, he misread that. He thought Gertner was going to go outside. And what a great interception and a nice return by Darryl Ford. Takes a big crack right there and loses his helmet at the end.
Legal procedure, the call against Saskatchewan. They'll decline it. Now, the tackles are playing in tighter than expected. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they're trying to take away the trap, and they're trying not to allow the two tackles to come inside on Palega and Carlton.
So what's the answer?
What's the answer? You have to start running off tackle and go to the outside game in the sweep.
Let's see if that's what they do. 1st and 10 for Western. Big turnover. The second so far. Early motion. I think it was by Saskatchewan as Clausen, and that's what you called for, something outside. He broke it back inside and picked up a couple, but I believe Saskatchewan moved prematurely. It is offside against Saskatchewan, so it'll be 1st down and 5 as Western will accept it. Not a good pass by David Earl, and there was certainly concern, if not expressed by Brian Towers, expressed by you and I.
Offside, number 45, Saskatchewan. Repeat the 1st down.
That Earl had to get off to a good start, considering the way he's played.
Well, I liked how they came out. They were throwing the short ball. They were taking what was there. But they don't want to get themselves in a situation, I don't think, where they want to be 2nd and 10 all the time. I think they should try and run the ball, because they do have some pretty good running backs in Simchuk and Eisler, and try and hit those people out in the flat.
1st and 5, Tyrone Williams, 6'5", lines up against 5'10", Errol Brown to the left. David Sapunjas against the less experienced Jason Huell wide to the right. But it's Rob Stewart following the block of Pat Mann. Look at Mann out front, leading the way and picking up a 1st down. And if there's one thing that stands out to me in seeing Western play 2 weeks in a row, it's the mobility of their guards.
Oh, yeah, they've got some good people in there. You've got Stephen Krupe. Now, David Sapunjas is going to come down here and try and seal number 27, Dewar, and he does a pretty good job, and that allows Pat Mann to get outside and get on a smaller person, the defensive back. Now, the defensive back, Huell, made actually a pretty nice play there to slide off of Mann's block.
Stewart comes out, John Wright goes in, so twin fullbacks for Western, even though Wright lines up as a tailback. 1st and 10, right at the 15-yard line for Western, and it is Ford up the middle. Ford picked up maybe 3. It'll be 2nd down and 7, and so far Saskatchewan has done a good job on Ford.
They have, and that's because they are pinching inside. But the key thing is, though, Michael, defensively, you can't take away the trap and the sweep at the same time. It's very difficult. Or you can't take away trap or the off tackle, and by that I mean you'll watch the fullback try and go off of the offensive tackle, kind of angling outside.
So far, Towers' team has limited Ford to 11 yards on 3 carries. He picked up 4 there. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Western just outside the 10-yard line of Saskatchewan. We're scoreless with 4:48 to play in the 1st quarter. Williams to the left, Sapunjas to the right. And here's Ford up the middle. Ford down inside the 5-yard line.
Now there's the off tackle we're talking about. They're trying to take advantage of Saskatchewan's defensive line. They're trying to angle in towards the center. And they come back and they attack the bubble. And the linebacker, boom, they go off tackle. Now, see, they pull at the guards at goal block, and Pat Mann makes a very nice block.
Now, is the interaction between coach and player something that Western traditionally does?
Yes, because what happens is Larry Haler, the head coach, calls all of the plays. So what's happening, he's getting information from his offensive lineman as he comes off the field, and also from the people upstairs in the box. And they're saying, hey, they're just shooting that B gap right away and trying to get in there to foul up the inside trap. 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. Western trying to get on the board first. Here's John Wright, and there is a penalty down, early motion. Saskatchewan may have lined up offside that time. Wright's gain was only a couple for Larry Haler. It'll be the 3-yard line, depending on what the call is.
Flag dropped in air. 2nd down.
Well, Western like power football when they get inside of the 5-yard line. You can see they take out Robbie Stewart and they put in John Wright.
Now, I saw Larry Haler. The referee just put his penalty flag down. Maybe didn't pick it up. Larry Haler started to call the play and then called timeout.
Chris said 2.
That's okay. Sweep it. 48-49 sweep.
Or 20.
No, we mean water. Managers, water.
Discussions taking place between them.
You can hear them there saying, what do we want to go, a 28 or 29 sweep or 48-49? All it is a little bit different style of blocking.
Haler started to call the play using the hand signals that I know you can interpret if you see them. And then when he got halfway through it, he called for a timeout.
Well, then what they're trying to do right now is find out from Chris saying exactly, can you tell us any shades at all and where people are going?
Let's go down the field level to Peter Watts. Peter?
Remember last week when Darryl Ford took so much flack because of the way he played against the wide receivers from St. Mary's? Well, he came up with a big interception a few moments ago that has possibly set up a touchdown drive here for the Western Mustangs. Straight man-to-man coverage, the ball just overthrown for the intended receiver. And Darryl Ford was right there to get the job done.
You know, he's talking about Darryl Ford, and you know, when you're playing corner in any league, it doesn't matter. You really have to have a huge, huge heart because you're all out there all alone, and you're going to take criticism every now and then, but also Darryl's the type of person who's a great competitor, and it's nice to see him bounce back.
Second down and goal, all set up by the interception by Darryl Ford. Goal to go from the 3-yard line. Gaffney, and there was a problem on the exchange, but a problem also at the line of scrimmage. Saskatchewan may have moved early. Someone certainly did, and there is a penalty marker down. A legal procedure. Let's get the call. Saskatchewan did move early, and that will give Western a first down.
Oh, costly error here. They had a 3rd down and 2 yards to go, and that would have put a lot of pressure on the Mustang coaching staff to make a decision on what they would do.
Is Haler traditionally a gambler?
At this point in the football game, I think he would take the points. And the reason I say that is because of the 25-23 loss that Western experienced against UBC. That would have been the difference.
Goal to go from the 1-yard line, just outside the one. First down and goal now. That's Ford in motion, and Gaffney gives it to Wright, but is he ever stacked up by Saskatchewan? We heard how big and strong they were, and there's an example. Phil Giebert, a little guy, though, with good penetration.
Well, this is where games are decided, boy. When you get down there on the 1-yard line, now Darryl's coming from the other, Dwayne Ford is trying to get the good block, but boy, there's a big pile there, and John Wright just couldn't get over the top.
So 2 big fullbacks. Wright, who was the starting fullback here for a number of years, and Ford, the star right now. Second down and goal from the 1. Gaffney keeps it himself over the top, but he gets into the end zone. I wasn't sure that he was, and Saskatchewan still doesn't know.
Well, it doesn't matter, really. I mean, the official calls it once he breaks the plane of the goal line, and the right official called it, and Western jumps out to a 6-0 lead. Just straight old quarterback sneak. Chris a little high here, but he only needed a yard, and it looked like he fell over.
If there's a point to be made, though, in defense of Saskatchewan, it is that physically they appear to be able to handle Western. Yes, Western scored off the turnover, but they did not get in the end zone easily.
No, and you know what the key was there is that when you're on goal line defense, they're playing 8 men across there. The defensive lineman's role is, I've got to get lower than the offensive lineman. And you can see there that Pat Mann was way up, and that's why Chris is rating his back, and Mike Dumoulin. They've got to get low. They've got to submarine those guys.
Steve McCann is good on his conversion. It is the Western Mustangs scoring first. They lead it 7-0, all set up on the Darryl Ford interception.
When you need a better winter boot, track down a Sorel. It's the cold standard. The first to bond the toughness of premium leather uppers to the dry comfort of waterproof bottoms. The first to build in the warmth of thick felt liners. Sorels. They'll change your stand on winter. Styles for men, women, and children. Sorels by Kaufman. Demand the brand.
7-0, the Western Mustangs lead it. Let's go to the Sightlines Bar and Grill, and here's Larry Utek and Lee Pedersen.
Well, thank you, Michael. You know, Larry Utek, as a head coach, you must really suffer with Saskatchewan when they made so many mistakes to let a good team like Western go in and score.
That's right. It's a lot similar to last game. Saskatchewan has had the opportunity to score. Western had 2 big penalties. They were down in their end, and they underthrew the receivers who were wide open. Then having that final, the penalty down this end would really hurt.
All right, Larry. Back to you, Michael.
Certainly Saskatchewan can't complain about field position. Their last 2 drives, one began from the 31 of Western, and they gave up an interception on the first play. The other one was from the 53 of Western, an interception as well. So the defense gave them the field position. They just couldn't do anything with it.
Absolutely, and you know, that's going to be a real story of today's game as well, because Western's John Leclerc, punter. I mean, he's come on the last couple of weeks, but he's only averaging about 31 yards a kick, where Lezecki is doing a much better job than that.
First down off the kickoff at the 20-yard line. There was a penalty on the kickoff, and here's Eisler brought down. Excellent penetration by number 38, Mike LaFontaine, who showed you his closing speed.
Well, Michael's no slouch in the speed department. I mean, he only has one punt return this year. Now, you wouldn't think he's a punt returner, but he was back on a blocked punt. And when he got his hands on the ball, it was 78 yards later, he was in the end zone, and I think surprised a lot of people.
Saskatchewan came out very crisply. They had a completion to Gertner, the wide receiver, for 5. Then they got a first down on a completion to Eisler, and since then, nothing but trouble. Nothing on the ground and 2 interceptions in the air. 2nd and 10 at the 20-yard line. Earl throws. He's got a man open, and that time he delivered it well to Gertner. And Darryl Ford, you showed you the respect that he has for Gertner's speed, was well off the ball.
I think Western's trying to put some pressure here on Earl, saying, hey, you have to go down and complete it. We're not going to give you anything cheap. And they just turned Gertner outside. Now, he's an exciting player. Look what he does with the ball. A lot of receivers, you know, they get the ball, they want to go down and make sure they don't fumble the ball or do anything, make any mistakes. Not Gertner. He's a competitor, this guy. He wants to take it to the end zone every time he gets his hands on it.
Jordan Gertner got into the end zone 4 times during the regular season. Their leading receiver. He's joined by Farthing. 2 dangerous ones to the right. Earl throws quickly, and he completes it to Kelvin Sander, who takes a hit and then spins off and picks up close to a first down.
That's nice. I like what Earl's doing here right now. I mean, after he throws the interception, he's coming back, and he's starting to take certain things that the Western defense is giving them. I mean, they're just playing off soft right there with Tony Ristine, and that's just the way the coverage is put together, and they're just finding a little hole right there. Just run him down the field and turn around, and I'll throw you the football.
Sander, I think, has the first down. It's an inch either way. You're looking at Rob Revering talking to his head coach, Brian Towers. Revering and Tim Irvine have been alternating. Yes, it is a first down by an inch. They've been alternating and bringing the plays in.
Well, Rob Revering's one of those athletes from U of S that's from that little small little town of Lake Lenore. They don't even play high school football there, but I guess they played soccer there. And they have, I think, 4 players from Lake Lenore on this U of S team, which is really quite a tribute. And we talked about it a few weeks ago, saying they probably have a higher percentage of players from Lake Lenore playing college football than from any city or town in Canada.
And certainly a higher percentage than any city that doesn't play high school
That's
football.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Great crowd on hand. We haven't got the final total, but it is certainly above 30,000. Look at a Husky band. And the Huskies have a first down. Their first since their initial possession. Time winding down in the first quarter. 1:41 to play. So far, nothing on the ground at all for Saskatchewan. Eisler's the deep back. Next Earl to the air again. And Earl to Eisler. He's got him open. And Eisler almost never drops it. And then his second effort brings him within a yard of a first down.
Terry Eisler a year ago was their big receiver with the University of Saskatchewan, and this year he really hasn't caught as many passes this year as he had last year, but nevertheless he had 16 receptions this year, and you can tell by his average, 14.4 yards. They don't like to put him down the field all that deep. They like to get him the ball either in the flat where you can turn it up and make some pretty good yardage.
But you know, if you look at the average for a running back, 14.4 is up there. I mean, that's more than you usually see.
Yes, it is.
Consider how that compares to the Western running backs catching the ball. Rob Stewart made 11 receptions, and actually he was up to 24 yards. So
they take him deep.
It's not a very good analogy. But on the other hand, Dwayne Ford averaged 5.8 yards of reception.
Right.
I was scrambling to come up with something.
Well, actually, his other friend there, Rob Simchuk, the only average is 10 yards.
Thanks for helping me, buddy. Second down and about an inch. Earl checking it off at the line of scrimmage. And early motion, but no call. And Eisler breaks the tackle. And holding his head was Mike LaFontaine, who was in the backfield and would have forced Saskatchewan to kick. But Eisler showed you his leg strength and got the first down.
Well, you're going to see Mike LaFontaine. He just slides in that gap. Now, what's happening, the way he's lined up in the line of scrimmage, the offensive lineman has to treat him as a down lineman. But they're trying to block down, and they're trying to kick out. And the running back is supposed to stay very close to the blocks in. They have to treat him as a lineman when he gets in that situation, or he'll just slide through the gap and make the tackle on the backfield, as he almost did on that play.
4 carries for 9 yards for Eisler so far. They've had some success with the short passing game. Earl overthrows Farthing. Very dangerous. Earl did not throw that well, and Farthing deflected it. Otherwise, there were a number of Western defensive backs who had designs on that.
Well, David Earle's just going to look to his left, and then he comes back here, and he's looking at Dan Farthing, I think, all the way. And
coaches say make him pay if you're going to get there just a little bit late, and that's what they did. Second down and 10 for Saskatchewan. A couple of first downs together as they trail it. 7-0 in the first quarter. Time winding down. Only 15 seconds to play. Well, gets outside and then throws on the run. There was an early bump there, and Saskatchewan's calling for it, but no call from the official.
That was very close. You're right. It was a little bit of an early bump. They want to try and get David Earle outside, and sometimes with a quarterback, you'd like to get him outside because his vision is so much better.
See if you watch the timing on the hit here.
They can see Colodis gets caught inside. He does not want to have that happen. And we're going to watch the ball come here, and
difficult to say.
That would be splitting hairs, I think, on that angle right there. Anyway, they're both going up and trying to play the ball.
That's a tough place not to make the call because it was right in front of Brian Towers in the Saskatchewan bench. Mike Lezecki with his second punt of the game. First one was 40 yards. This one is high, very high. It's Sapunjas at his 12-yard line, and Sapunjas is not going to get outside because of the work of of number 24 of Saskatchewan, Ken Zappernak.
And actually, you can credit that with Mike Lezecki.
Zappernak makes the tackle. Western doesn't have good field position, but it hasn't hurt him so far. They lead the Vanier Cup by 7.
Night, dear.
Honey, I think I left the living room light on.
I'll get it.
Oh, the kitchen, too.
Got it.
Control the lights from anywhere in your house. Just buy $25 worth of Stanley tools, and we'll send you a light maker control unit and lamp module worth $54.95, free.
Oh, did you leave the light on for Chris?
Of course I did.
Also, enter the Stanley Tools Secret to Security contest with over 75 prizes, including a Chevy truck, at participating Stanley dealers.
Size pizza, by the slice, take out taste, stand on price, ain't a pizzeria style pizza just down the king.
Mom, can I stay at Jimmy's for dinner?
Sure, but your McCain super fast burger and fries are in the microwave.
Gotta go. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. All right.
McCain microwave burger and fries, a taste that brings them home.
Another taste of the Rolling Stones, brought to you by the clean, true taste of Labatt's Blue. Satisfaction guaranteed.
Air Canada's executive class. Convenience, comfortable, almost completely effortless. Some say it's the way business travel was meant to be.
Welcome back to the Sky Dome in Toronto, where the Western Mustangs have a 7-0 lead over the University of Saskatchewan. A happy group here in sight lines as the alumni enjoying a 7-0 lead. Head coach Larry Utek from St. Mary's. You have noticed the tendency in that Western defense on first down.
They seem to be playing Joe Goodwin out very tight, the middle safety, and they've been also playing him to the wide side of the field. So far, Saskatchewan has utilized it by throwing to the out, isolating on Gerald Ford. But I think sooner or later they're going to have to go to the post because it looks wide open on first down.
All right then, Larry. Michael?
Field position has been a problem for Western so far. They started from their own 40, their own 10, and their own 14 now, and they have done nothing from those positions. On the one big turnover, they got the ball at the Saskatchewan 30, and they marched promptly into the end zone. Chris Gaffney just 1 for 4 in that first quarter for 27 yards. Gaffney's going to go to the air. Now he feels some heat, and Gaffney threw a pretty good pass, but just out of the reach of Kipper Ribby, his all-Canadian tight end. 1 quarter of play. The stat that counts, of course, is 7-0 for the Western Mustangs as we look at the statistics from the first quarter of play. Look at the balance. Well, actually, it's not balance. It was 40 yards in rushing, 10 yards in passing. So Western tries to come up and establish the ground.
Oh, they're almost exact opposites right there. Look at Saskatchewan's passing yards versus Western's passing yards, and you can flip-flop the rushing totals.
Gaffney now 1 for 5 at the 14-yard line. It's 2nd and 10. 4 receivers to the left, and that's where he's looking. Now he goes back to the right, and Sapunjas drops the ball. Sapunjas had beaten his man, Dean Iwander. Perfect pass from Gaffney, but he couldn't hold on.
Boy, those are the kind of passes you have to have in a big game now. Now Chris is coming out here, and he's looking left all the way, and he goes to 1 receiver, 2, 3. You can see his eyes coming back all the way across his reads. I mean, David really was the 4th person he was throwing to, and that's a case when you have to take the ball in your hands. You cannot allow it to get into your body, and that's what happened. You can see David's pretty disgusted by that. He knows better.
If there's good news in a bad play for Saskatchewan or for Western, it has to be Gaffney and his ability to find, as you say, the 4th receiver that he looked for.
Well, that was really nice. I mean, that's almost like a coaching film right there, where you say, look at the quarterback there, look at his eyes. You can see he went through every one of his reads. So he obviously is comfortable with what's going on in terms of his own team and his players running routes.
He's got to catch the ball. John LeClaire will kick it away from right at his end zone. Line of scrimmage is the 14-yard line. Saskatchewan waits for this kick well inside their 50-yard line. Gertner and Simchuk back for the kick. And Farthing as well. Farthing's got it at the 38, and a no yards penalty will bring this one inside the 30-yard line of Western. So Saskatchewan will have outstanding field position as they attempt to tie this football game.
Well, it shows you really how important a kicker is in your program. And, you know, John LeClaire is doing obviously the best job that he possibly can. And
4 yards, number 29, Western.
But, you know, it can be a nemesis for you because you come back to haunt you. I mean, there they are on the 40-yard line, and that's not bad field position from a Western standpoint. It's not great for Saskatchewan, but with the no yards, you know, they're right down the 25-yard line.
Stain busters. One of the things that you've got to note about Saskatchewan is that they field every punt in the air. Each one's been short, and they've got no yards so far 3 times. It's given David Earl good field position. 7-0 for the Mustangs. Earl's got the Huskies at the 25. Eisler finds it tough. He was able to drag a tackler down and pick up 5. It'll be 2nd down and 5, and that is his longest run since early in this football game. Now 5 carries for 14 yards for Terry Eisler. Ryan Towers making his first Vanier Cup appearance. Saskatchewan making its first Vanier appearance. As a matter of fact, before this year, they had never won a playoff game in their history.
Really is an amazing story. He's done a great job at turning around that program.
Let's see if they go right. 2nd and 5. That's where they're going to run. Eisler cuts it back. Eisler for the first down. He's not very big, but he loves to stick his head in, and that's what he did there. And he stuck it in well enough to push Kolodich back for a first down.
Well, the key thing that Eisler does here is that when he gets outside, he starts going up the field. He doesn't continue to go out to the sidelines. He turns it up. And so he gets his shoulders square. Now, watch how the ball's pitched here. Now, watch Eisler here. Now, he takes the ball and he reads the kick-out block from Simchuk, and then he takes it right up the field.
Now look at number 21, Joey Goodwin. He tried to get in there and make the hit. He ended up 5 yards back.
That's right. He got bounced back. You know, Terry Eisler hits in there with everything. You know, some running backs don't accelerate in contact. Eisler is one of the ones that does.
Saskatchewan looks for the tie. They have the ball at the 14-yard line, 1st and 10. Early motion by Western. They'll be offside. This should be a freebie for Saskatchewan. Farthing on the reverse. What an amazing run by Dan Farthing. Unbelievable. Offside against the Western Mustangs. The score stands.
Well, these are the kind of plays that make coaches smile because it looks like he's trapped. There's one block. Kolodich misses him here, number 45. Then he comes back inside. Clements has a shot. I mean, everybody has a piece of him. I mean, that's just a great individual effort by Dan Farthing.
You know, sometimes you watch a replay and you can figure out how he did it. I still have no idea how he scored.
Great athletic ability. That's how he did it. I mean, he just, now watch when he gets hit here. He just spins, he just turns and spins. He's so loose. mean, he's not rigid. He just takes the hit and bounces away from you. That's just a great run.
14 yards of incredible effort by Dan Farthing. Giebert, the backup place kicker, is good, and the Saskatchewan Huskies convert good field position into a score. Dan Farthing's a great player, but I don't think he's ever been better than he just was. We're tied at 7.
You're looking sharp, you're looking good, you've come so far, and we know how to make the most of who you are. Father to son, it's what we've always done. Gillette.
The Gillette Atra Plus system and Gillette Foamy Shave Cream, together the best a man can get.
The best a man can get.
When Western had the ball last time, I said that the strength of that team was their guards and their ability to block downfield. Keep in mind that they're missing all-Canadian guard Rob Godley, who's with Peter Watts.
Thank you, Michael. Rob, I know this is not the way you'd like to see a college career end. It's tough standing here on the sidelines, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, it's not the way I'd planned on going out of my college years playing football, standing on the sidelines, but it'll make it a little nicer if the guys win it today for us.
Did you have any thought and any hope at all this week that you'd be able to play, or did you know?
Yeah, I actually throughout the week I thought I had a pretty good chance of playing until yesterday at practice. We did everything that we were going to do for my leg during practice that we would do in the game. And I went out and tried to go full, and I just couldn't do it.
This game is a long way from being over. Your offense is not moving the ball, I'm sure, as much as you would have liked to have seen.
No, usually our first quarter, we're kind of feeling them, trying to see what we can run on them, what we can throw on them, what they're doing. So we're trying a few different things, and I think we've got a good idea of what they're doing and what we can do against them.
All right, Rob, good luck, eh? Get healthy and get back out on the football field soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Michael.
Well, it took a slot back to teach the Saskatchewan running backs how to run. Farthing with the longest run from scrimmage, 14 yards. To that point, Eisler had been the only ball carrier, and he had 6 for 21. Sapungis awaits for it at the 15-yard line. He's got a hole up the middle, and Sapungis brings it out to the 34-yard line where Western will scrimmage, and still no real flow to the Western offense yet.
No, I think, you know, we've seen them, they were trying to run the inside game, but you know what's really dictated that, though, Michael, is their field position. They've always been starting deep in their own end on their 14-yard line and side of the 20, and you need some breathing room to really open your offense up, because they don't want to do anything that turns the ball over inside. And I think they just have to start doing some things where they're catching the football. David last time, that's so uncharacteristic of him, and still, I'm sure a lot of them are still a little bit nervous.
You see the key statistic there, I think 25 yards is all they had to go on the short kick by LeClaire and the no yards penalty. Field position, you say, is key. Western has decent field position. Now they've got it at the 34. There's Rob Stewart to the outside, turned inside, and again, very good pursuit by Del Palaga. He's been very impressive.
Well, they're flowing very well to the point of attack here. I mean, that was just a great read by the inside linebackers. And Del Palaga, one of their best. Regina. Now, they didn't pay the trap any attention at this time. They saw Krupe and Mann coming out. And the key was there is that the front side guard coming out, Pat Mann, got stripped right away. There was some penetration there, and the guard could not get around the corner. And when you throw a wrench into the integrity of the play, it's very difficult to get anything out of it.
Second down and 8 for Western, right at its own 35. It's the flanker screen. It took a while to get there, but it did. And big Tyrone Williams has some room. Tyrone bobbed and weaved his way to a first down. I think Tyrone might hustle back to the huddle and say, Chris, throw it a little bit harder than that.
Well, what happened is that he had to throw it over a defender that jumped through in front that came right across the line of scrimmage. Normally, like to throw it on a line. Tyrone just gets enough for the first down. Pretty tough yards to get him that way.
This time he heads out to the left. Top of your screen, Tyrone Williams. And he's matched there by Errol Brown. At the bottom, it's Sapungis. Ford and Stewart in the backfield. And Gaffney to the air. He wants Tyrone Williams. He's got a stride. Williams with the catch. Tyrone Williams. 65 yards for the score.
No, he's out of bounds, I believe, on the 6-yard line.
in the end zone, and I followed the official. I didn't see any call.
Well, we're going to see a nice play here. Just play action, and they just run a streak, and Chris throws it as far as he can. And Tyrone just pulls away from Brown, but Brown's got great speed here now. You can see him catch up to Tyrone, and he just gives him a shove enough that his foot goes right out there. Good call by the official, right on the ball.
5-yard line, that's where Western is right now. Ford and Stewart in behind. Clausen in motion. It's Ford up the middle, and Ford finds nothing. And again, Del Palaga, number 51, there to break it up.
Well, you know, we talked at the beginning of this football game, we said that they match up so well everywhere. Their offensive line, defensive line, and the running backs are very comparable, but we felt the quarterback today were going to be the key to the game. And really, that's what we're seeing. Both of them are going to have to take control and play good games today.
Saskatchewan not giving up an inch on the ground, though, up the middle. And that's where Western loves to run. 2nd and goal from the 4. Gaffney with a man right in his face. Now he's going to try to score, and Gaffney makes it into the end zone. 2 Saskatchewan players converged on him, but they took each other out.
Well, that's what they call naked bootleg, and we saw that against St. Mary's. They were aware of it, but Chris does a very nice job of ball handling.
Now, does Sean Gardner, number 45, the linebacker, take the wrong route here?
Yes. Now, he's got contained responsibility. He has to make sure the quarterback doesn't have it. He came in a little bit too tight, and Chris rotates. Now, this is a nice move by Chris Gaffney, even though he's carrying the ball in the wrong hand here. Nice move to step inside. You're going to see it very clear here. They false key. They bring Krupe to the right. All the flow goes to the right, and just out of his grasp. But a nice step here. Boom. Right inside for the 6 points. Wow, nice run.
Nice drive by Chris Gaffney. He threw a flanker screen to Tyrone Williams. They picked up 11. Then he threw a 60-yarder to Tyrone Williams, who went out of bounds at the 5, and he took it 4 yards for the score. You said the key was Chris Gaffney. He looks good right now as the Mustangs have taken the lead by 7.
You only get the real feeling by doing it. Choose a career. Live the adventure.
Thursday night, the Toronto Maple Leafs face off against the Boston Bruins, live from Boston Garden. Jim Newsom, Jerry Green, and Jim Van Horn bring you Molson's the NHL tonight. The Maple Leafs and the Bruins this Thursday night, starting at 7:30 Eastern on CIAU.
Welcome back to the Sky Dome in Toronto, the Vanier Cup, where the Western Mustangs have just scored to take a 14-7 lead here in the second quarter. Leif Pedersen along with Larry Utek. Larry, once you think you've got the trap stopped on defense, then you have to worry about the play action.
That's for sure. Blag has been doing an excellent job stopping the trap in the middle. They sent Tyrone Williams long down the sideline, and just his height and his speed are just a little too much for their corner in this play. Excellent pass.
What a great catch by Tyrone Williams, and all the people up here in sight lines are pretty happy with that result, and a nice drive by Western. Michael?
The finishing touches were applied by the man who delivered the ball, Chris Gaffney. Williams went out of bounds at the 4, and Gaffney took it the rest of the way. So far, Western has been stopped on the inside trap game, but they have found other ways to get into the end zone. In that way, very much Tyrone Williams, even though he didn't take it the final 4 yards. Steve McCann to kick it off. So Saskatchewan scored to tie it on a short drive, and then an explosive drive by Western to retake the lead. Simchuk awaits it at his 17. Simchuk out to the 35-yard line, where Saskatchewan will begin. Tyrone Williams has been followed all over the field. Brian Towers has sent Errol Brown out to match him, and I guess even though Brown's their best defensive back, still hard to cover a guy that big and that fast.
Well, also Brown's a freshman as well, and you know, he's a little bit inexperienced out there, but he's a good competitor. I like the way that he's been playing the last few weeks. But there you get the big height disadvantage or advantage for Tyrone, 6'5" over 5'11". And Tyrone is deceptive. He does have very good speed as well, but he doesn't look like he's that fast because he's a big guy.
Earl's going to feel some pressure, dumps it off, almost picked off, almost intercepted by number 45. Mike Kolodich, a defensive lineman who doesn't often get his hands on the ball.
Well, they come on the blitz here, and they just bring the linebacker. Earl doesn't see him coming here. He comes right in his face. Number 50, Richard Bury. There's not too many times you get the ball thrown right at your numbers when you're 2 feet away from a quarterback. Surprised Michael Kolodich a little bit.
But if he didn't pick it off, he still broke the play up, and The Huskies have the ball now, 2nd and 10 at their 35. They trail it 14-7 with 8:49 to play in the first half of the Vanier Cup. Only one down lineman for Western. 3-man rush, and it's a good rush, but a good timing play. Jordan Gertner makes the reception, and he has a first down. Boy, Earl threw his best pass of the game right there.
Yeah, that was a nice start right there. I mean, if you can't get confidence throwing a pass like that, I mean, he stands right in here because they've got some pressure coming from the backside. Look at that nice delivery. It's going to be close. Let's see whether or not he has a first down. I guess they've given it to him.
Actually, they gave him a first down by about 2 yards and ruled that his momentum was instituted by the defensive back. And it's a first down for Saskatchewan. And a big one, 47-yard line. Earl trips and falls, and he can't get up. In college football, once you go down, you are down.
Probably doesn't want to get up. He's probably very embarrassed. You don't like to do this on national television, or just kicks his own heel and falls down. It happens to the best of them.
Loss of 4. It'll be 2nd down and 14.
You know, the thing about AstroTurf is you're playing quarterback. A lot of quarterbacks like to pivot on the surface. When you pivot, usually you rip up ground, but on AstroTurf you can't do that because there's no give to it. And so you end up stepping, and you get away from the things that you've usually been taught on a grass field.
Farthing's in the slot to the right. 2nd and 14 for Saskatchewan. 4-man rush. Earl delivers it. Farthing's very well covered. He was double covered. And that time, Darryl Ford played off his man and was there to help out. Also well covered by John Davis.
Well, they bring in the 6th defensive back. You just mentioned number 25, John Davis, to give some extra help on the 2nd down and long. And they're pretty well covered.
Well, the Huskies are in a little bit of trouble now. They trail at 14-7. Western appears to be rolling offensively, and Western appears to be going to get the ball back. Zeki with 2 kicks, a 40 and a 41-yard kick. Now another nice high kick. Sapungis will wait for it. Over his shoulder, he makes the catch. Dave Sapungis with only 4 on the return off a fine kick by Lezecki. 39 yards, and it was ever high, too.
Well, I watched Michael Lezecki. I mean, he got a great kick there, and then I watch him. He kind of hobbles off the field a little bit, so obviously that knee's giving him still a little bit of trouble. Didn't seem to give him any trouble when he kicks the ball.
He's kicking like a professional, you know. It's not the distance of his kicks that he seems to be terribly concerned with. It's the height.
It is the height. I mean, it's really eye level. We're way up here in the press box, and as we see Mike Lezecki getting some ice to that knee.
They're icing him down after every effort. And unfortunately for Saskatchewan, he is not available to do place kicking. Apparently the motion, the swinging motion with a place kick is different and hurts his particular knee injury more than punting. 1st and 10 for the Mustangs. Tyrone Williams now wide to the right, bottom of your screen. Sapungis wide to the left. And Gaffney lays it up. This one is a freebie. Ken Zappernuck puts his hands on his head. He had a great shot at it, as did Phil Giebert, who was moving in for the interception as well.
Western were trying to run Robbie Stewart down the field, and Chris just didn't get his shoulders turned properly, and therefore didn't get the momentum on the ball or the speed of the ball that he would have liked.
6:33 to play in the first half. 14-7 for the Mustangs. Gaffney's big play was a 60-yarder to Tyrone Williams. Here's Ford up the middle. Ford gets nothing. Inside trap has not worked at all. The ball was actually stolen away, but no call. John Kalmakoff, the nose tackle, didn't budge a nose.
Well, they thought they would try and surprise him there on 2nd down, but they were ready for it. Kalmakoff's playing a pretty strong game there, because usually when they run the trap, they're going to try and double team him with the center and also the guard.
I was talking to Larry Utek, who's involved in our broadcast, and he can comment on this. And he said one of the frustrating things about the game last week was the fact that Western had 2nd and 20 twice, and they ran inside trap and got first downs. And he said, you know, that just kills a team.
Oh, it does. Psychologically, it really hurts you.
Western had 2nd and 10 that time. They came to the trap, and they got about a half a yard. So John Leclerc forced to punt it away, and he is struggling. Season average only about 32, so he's under that. And this one will be even further under that. Fortunately for Western, it takes a good enough bounce that they don't get called for no yards. So It is the Mustangs leading it by 7, but Saskatchewan continues to have good field position.
Well, that's right. I mean, if you take a look at where Saskatchewan punted from last time and where Western, they're getting the ball now, there's a gain there of about 15 yards. And if you get into a kicking game here, it looks like Saskatchewan, with the kind of kicker that they have, Michael Zecchi, they're going to come out on top.
Last year's Vanier Cup game saw 10 records set offensively. This one, we've seen 1 record tied. 2 touchdowns by Chris Gaffney, the quarterback, ties the Vanier Cup record. 8 others have done it. But Earl has fine field position at his own 53, sends 3 receivers right. That's where he looks. Farthing, first reception of the game. He had the 1 carry for 14 yards in the score, and this reception's good for 4. It'll be 2nd and 6. You know, very often you can come out and watch and see what a team's game plan is. I'm not sure I know what Saskatchewan's game plan is.
Well, they seem to really get in these runs of either throwing the ball all the time, and then they start to run the ball all the time. And right now they seem to be content with trying to throw the football in the last few downs. I've seen them try to put it in the air a lot. Obviously, those 2 early interceptions are not affecting David Earl at all. He's standing right in there and throwing the football.
2 down linemen for Western. Now they bring the rush. 6 men come wide open. Simchuk. Simchuk down to the 12-yard line. Western came with a blitz, and Earl read it perfectly. Yards for Rob Simchuk.
When you play man coverage and you're coming on the blitz, you better hope that you got your running backs picked up, and obviously Western is a breakdown in the coverage. Somebody forgot to pick him up, and a nice read by Earl to pick him out.
So Western, the team that had rushed only 3 players on the previous several plays, rushed 6 there, and they got burned. 40 yards in the play for Simchuk from David Earl. 1st and 10 from the 12. 4:27 to play in the first half. Eisler on the toss, penalty down. Simchuk leading the way, but Western had that one read all the way, a gain of only 2. And let's wait for the call. Saskatchewan's pointing in the direction of Western. Let's see. Ken Green's point is really the only one that counts. And let's see what direction he points. Green says offside against the Western Mustangs, so it'll be 1st down over and 5 from the 7.
Well, I think we're just going to see Saskatchewan play their power game here right now. So 2 big backs.
4 of them have been costly for Western. Twice they've given Saskatchewan 1st downs inside the 10-yard line, and that's what it is now. Ball's right at the 7. That's Farthing in motion to the left. This time it's Eisler following, but not much blocking there. He was following the block of Rob Simchuk, but Simchuk ran into about 4 Western players, and it didn't really matter what he did.
Well, when you're in this situation as a defensive coach, you always tell your players, this is when it becomes fun, actually, and this is when you find out what kind of a team you really are. Get that stat, Western defense only 65 points, and there's 7 regular season games.
Coached by Bob LaRose.
Former Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Great.
Former receiver.
That's right. They split in.
But Larry Haler's now concerned with this. 2nd down and 5 from the 7-yard line. They get a 1st down right at the 2. And they throw to Gertner in the end zone, almost picked off. Excellent coverage by Darryl Ford, who was right there on Gertner.
Well, that was great coverage by Darryl, and there's no cushion there. I mean, you can't make a better play as a defender than that. I mean, he's right on him, and he almost takes the ball away here. They like to run play action, make it to Eisler, and he's looking all the way to Gardner, and what a nice job there by Darryl Ford. Wow, that's how you play the out if you're a defensive back.
A little bit underthrown. Gertner came back to it, and Ford battled him all the way.
But you know, actually, that's not a bad throw, Michael, because the quarterback's trying to throw a low outside to make sure that the receiver is the only one that should have an opportunity to the football. Now, Darryl, I think that was a great defensive play as opposed to really a bad throw by Earl.
15-yard line. Giebert, not their regular field goal kicker. 2 for 3 last week, and he is good on this one. So Phil Giebert, the do-everything defensive back for Saskatchewan, does this. He cuts the Western Mustangs lead to 4. We'll return to the Vanier Cup in just a moment.
to give an ordinary power saw extraordinary powers. Use Dianite blades, only from Vermont American.
Available at participating home hardware stores and other fine retail outlets across Canada.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps?
Clinically proven back guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain.
Amazing. Something down here can help up here.
New back guard from Dr. Scholl's.
Western's probably pretty happy with that. They gave up only the 3. It could have been 7. Let's go downstairs to Peter Watts.
All right, Michael, Rob Simchuk on that punt return a few minutes ago suffered a little bit of a contusion in the calf, but it sure didn't look like it hampered him any on that long play up the middle where he caught the little hitch pass over the center and took it about 30 yards to help set up that field goal for Saskatchewan. Ryan Torres is really concerned about his offensive line. They're not doing as good a job against minimal pressure as he would like, and he really needs them to play well, both to get the running game going and also to protect David Earl and help him have time to throw the football.
Well, if you talk about that passing game, Jimmy, the running game and how well they blocked, they had first down and 5, and they ran the pitch to the left side, and Western just totally shut it down.
That's right, and I'm sure that Bob LaRose has to be very happy with that. I think Western's very fortunate to get out with only 3 points being scored against them, because Saskatchewan are a very good football team, and usually when they get those kind of opportunities inside an opponent's 10-yard line, they don't miss very often.
Western elected to take the ball at the 35-yard line.
I'm a little surprised by that, because I think they've got great weapons back there in Stewart returning punts or kickoffs, and also David Sapunjas, but I guess they feel that.
And add to that the fact that Saskatchewan is missing its regular kicker.
That's correct.
But they elect to take it to the 35. Sapunjas now wide to the right. Tyrone Williams to the left. The trap still has not worked very well. There's Mike Clausen, and Clausen is going to have to battle his way to get to the outside. Clausen does a great job to pick up 6 yards. Now a penalty comes down, and I don't know why.
Oh, he scared him on the sidelines. Del Palaga.
Yeah, but he went up in the air. Look.
This is just a great individual effort, because Saskatchewan do a very nice job here of stringing this out. Clausen's got pretty good speed. I guess wearing those black shoes, it doesn't look like he's that good, but right there, helmet. You can't leave with the head.
Unnecessary roughness. Piling on. 51 Saskatchewan. First down.
I took my eye off after the first hit. The first hit was a fair one because it was Clausen who had leaped. Even though he was out of bounds, he had still kind of gone up high. But Palaga, who's been very active there, a little bit too active, and Western all of a sudden is inside Saskatchewan territory. Errol Brown gives Williams a big cushion, but it's Clausen again running the ball from his slot back position. And Palaga brings him down with Giebert, but not before he picks up 12 yards.
Here's Mike Clausen. Don't want to be jumping in the air too much. We can see Del Palaga, number 51, leading with his head. And the initial point of contact in football now cannot be with the head.
And it was out of bounds, even regardless of what he had used to do it. He was well out of bounds. Palaga didn't shake Clausen up, apparently, because Clausen picked up 12 there. This time it's Ford up the middle, but Ford still finding it very tough going.
Well, those linebackers are doing a real nice job. As soon as they see that guard start to pull, boom, they're running right up there into the gap, and so they can't get anybody down on the block them across the hole. And that's what you want in your linebackers, to be able to recognize trap instantly and get into the hole.
Darryl Ford, or Dwayne Ford, last week, 219 yards on 22 carries. Today, 7 carries for 19. He picked up only 2. Fake to Clausen. Now Tyrone is 6'5", but he needed to be 7'5" to bring that one down.
Well, that's Scott Hudspeth right there. I mean, he makes that play, number 77, the defensive end in their scheme of things.
Now, you said to me before the game, you said that I think the key to this game will be how well Western can find other things to win with if Saskatchewan shuts down inside trap, which is what they've done.
Well, they've tried to go outside a little bit, and they've hit some long passes. Really hasn't been a lot of consistent things that they've done well. They've hit on some big plays. And to say in that last play there, you got Scott Hudspeth. They've got to stop any kind of penetration coming across instantly, because he's 6'5", he's right in Chris Gaffney's face. Gaffney's got to throw over him to get the ball to Tyrone. He doesn't want to float it.
John LeClaire will punt from the 38-yard line. Farthing and Gertner got word from Towers whether they should give up the single. They fake it, and Wright is not going to get a first down. LeClaire tried to make it look like the ball had been snapped over his head, but Larry Haler gambles for the first time today, and it doesn't pay off. Now, if you look at it this way, maybe it's a change in momentum more than anything. If they would have kicked, they probably would have ended up, as you look at Del Palaga, the most active Saskatchewan player hurt now. Let's assume that they would have punted there and got a single point. Saskatchewan would have got the ball at the 35-yard line. So,
well, I think what Larry's thinking was they're kicking the ball from where the 40-yard line. I mean, today when we take a look at what the average has been for John LeClair, it's not great. So they decide to go with the fake, and we see the wide shot here in the fake, and they try to snap it. Actually, Saskatchewan do a very nice job. I believe that was, again, Del Palaga right in there who made a really nice read on the fake punt.
The average has only been 27 yards for John LeClair, so Haler trying to find other ways to do things on third down. When you talk about a team that's prepared defensively, it seems like Saskatchewan is really prepared to play Western today.
Yeah, they are. They've really done a nice job. And Jerry Friesen, who's the defensive coordinator, he used to play at the University of Saskatchewan, and I had to play with him in the Can-Am back in 1978.
Played linebacker in the CFL as well.
That's right, with Saskatchewan, a long career. I think he played with Montreal as well.
So on the turnover on downs, Saskatchewan has the ball at its own 34-yard line. Just 1:31 to play. Let's see if they can turn this into points. Farthing with the reception. Farthing takes a big hit. He got to the 40-yard line, and he stopped right at the 40-yard line.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. We're looking at Earl here. He's going to throw the Farthing, the short man. But if you can just see in your screen, no, I guess not. But they actually had a receiver that kind of came out underneath Farthing, and then he kind of did that old kind of banana up the sideline. And Darryl Ford got influenced inside, and I think they're going to probably come back with something like that. I'm sure somebody has seen it upstairs here, and I'm sure probably somebody on defense has seen it. And I see a player, Chris Bean, talking to Darryl. I think they're trying to get their signal straight, saying, hey, who's got him?
So let's assume that you see something in the team's defense. If you're Saskatchewan, Brian Towers talks to David Earl. Brian Towers says, hey, we had a man open deep. But now you've got to try to figure out whether the other team saw it as well.
Well, that's right. I think as a quarterback, one of the things you always used to do, receiver would come back and say, hey, I was wide open in that play. I mean, I was deep. No one saw me. And you always ask him, did the defender know? I mean, did he recognize that you got by him? Because if he recognized it, he's just looking around saying, hey, I can't let him get by me again. And the receiver will either say, no, he didn't. If he didn't recognize it, go back to it right away.
So you got to communicate with your receiver.
Yeah, and he has to really be aware or cognizant of the fact of what defenders are doing, because, you know, a lot of times when the guys get wide open, they all come back to the huddle and they say, who had him? I mean, we're lucky they didn't throw the ball to him.
Right. Now, a team like Western, with its complex defense, wouldn't necessarily play the same defense 2 plays in a row, particularly since the situation is now different.
No, that's right. And I think what you have to do is come back to, they're going to probably file that one away right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't come back with that one later on, because it seemed to work once, and they're still talking about it, Ford and Bean, so there's still some confusion there.
Okay, Gertner comes wide to the right. Farthing lines up actually on the line of scrimmage to the right, so it's a dual tight end formation. 2nd down and 3 for Saskatchewan. 1:17 to play. They go to Simchuk, and Simchuk fell forward, but I still don't think he got the first down.
I think he's going to be about a yard short here.
Well defensed by number 66, Dan Lane. Now, if he's a full yard short, it's a very, very important decision for Brian Towers. He is a full yard short.
Well, especially with 1 minute and 14 seconds left in the half. I mean, you don't want to give Western anything at this point in the football game with 1 minute to go before the half.
Towers, it's still difficult to recognize what he's going to do. Larry Haler, I think, hoping that Towers will go for it. Towers is going to go for it. So it is 3rd down and a full yard to go with 1:12 to play. You like the call?
Yeah, I do. I think I like it. I like it's aggressive. I think it stresses to his team that, hey, we're not going to sit back and hope for things. We're going to go after it.
I would have kicked it away. Let's see who's right. 3rd down and a full yard to go. Eisler not going to make the first down. Mike Lindley there to bring it down for a loss.
Wow, that's just great football right there, Michael. That's just great football. I mean, this is all right up front of the pit, and whoever has the best surge, and they get really low here, and Lindley gets a piece of them, and just enough to hold them up until Gary Clements comes in the linebacker to finish off the play. I mean, that's great. That's just great. Great stuff, both ways.
I think that side would say it's a lot greater than the other side. Well, so Western now can really go for the throat. They lead at 14-10, and they could go into halftime with a big boost. 1st and 10. Gaffney throws it for Tyrone Williams, who's got the big size, but he didn't need the size. Gaffney put it right into the numbers.
Well, they talk about Tyrone maybe being NFL caliber wide receiver. So big, and what a big target. And Chris goes back, looking to his right, which is nice, and he comes back again to Tyrone. A beautiful thrown ball. Giebert just was a little late getting over there, and it was a perfectly thrown ball and a nice catch by Tyrone Williams, a native of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Played his football at Queen Elizabeth High School.
Tyrone did not have to move his hands. I saw him getting ready to leap because it seemed like, I guess he figured the ball was higher than it was as Western takes a timeout. But that ball just went plunk right into the numbers.
Well, you know, Chris Gaffney, he's really come on in the playoffs. From what Larry Haler was saying, he struggled a little bit during the year. He wasn't as consistent as they wanted him to be. But once he got into playoffs, I mean, he's showing that he can handle the pressure, and he's really playing a heck of a football game right now.
You know, the biggest play of this game so far, even with the 60-yard play to Tyrone Williams, and even with that pass right there, has to be the third down and a little bit more than a yard when Brian Towers elected to go for it.
Sure.
Didn't make it.
Well, interestingly enough, Western goes, I mean, the momentum has switched about 3 times here in the last minute and a half. Western try third down, they get stuffed. It looks like Saskatchewan's got some life, and then they try third down, and they get stuffed. And now Western are knocking on the door with 34 seconds left in this half.
I guess the difference was that when Larry Haler gambled, it was at the Saskatchewan 35-yard line.
Right.
When Brian Towers gambled, it was inside his own territory, and he had left enough time on the clock for Western to do something.
Well, I'm going to admit something. Looks like your call was the right call of punting it away right now. And
you know, normally, I guess you got to go by what's happened in the game, and that is Saskatchewan really hasn't had any success in the ground. They have been apparently overmatched by the Western defensive line, so it sets up this situation. First down and goal from the 5. Clock is stopped. No timeouts remaining for Western. 34 seconds to play. Clausen on the sweep. Clausen in for the touchdown. Giebert, Carlton, and Palaga were there, but Clausen found a way to get in.
Well, Western really got out clean that time, and what I mean by clean, they get their guards outside. They fake that inside trap with Cord. Now Krupe, you see him get outside, he gets engaged. Man, but what a nice effort by Mike Clausen. Boy, he's been a real big addition to that Western Mustang football team.
Watch number 51 on this play, Del Palaga, kind of overruns it.
And he gets outside, and then it's an easier block on him. Yeah, that's right, he does overrun it a bit. A big, big play for the Western Mustangs.
So hard to defense this team as they get ready to go up by 11 points, and that's what they have done. When you consider the weapons that they use, 29 seconds to play in the first half. They've got Williams and Sapunjas outside. They've got that inside trap game with Ford. Stewart can run, and you throw into all of that your slot back that carries the ball 7-8 times a game.
Well, the thing is, I mean, no football team in the world, if you have a team, I mean, these are two good football teams here, but no team in the world can stop inside run, off tackle, outside, and throwing the football, because you're always going to have to give up something if you want to stop any part of that game. Obviously today, Saskatchewan has said, we're not going to allow you to run trap. You're going to have to run something else to beat us. Now, Western is, I guess, showing right now that they're a good enough team to come back, and they do have some other weapons. And really, the addition of Mike Clausen to this football team at the end of the season, in terms of a starting role, he was a freshman this year, has really been a big plus for them.
You look at Saskatchewan, a team that has a fine offense, but that doesn't use every player as effectively as Western does. And I guess there are times when you can kind of build your defense around that and say, let's stop a guy like Farthing or Gertner and leave other guys maybe with less attention. Well, certainly Western had to pay some attention to number 21 for the Saskatchewan Huskies, Dwayne Dimtrishan, who brought the ball out to the 41-yard line with 24 seconds to play. 21-10, Western leads it. The 41-yard line is where they'll begin, and let's see, and you'll know right away whether they're interested in trying to get some points or whether they're just going to let the clock wind down. Only one down lineman for Western. That's Chris Walker. Earl throws, and he completes it, but Western will very happily give that up with 19 seconds to play.
Well, right now, I think everybody who's watching this football game realize that Western is not going to get beat deep here, or they don't want to get beat deep anyway, and Earl's just happy enough to throw it out to running back in the flat hook area.
15 seconds to play and counting. Saskatchewan Comes up quickly. Gaffney had a great game. Ford has been limited very well by the Saskatchewan defense. Will throws it over the middle. Nice catch. Lauren Keene makes the reception, but there is no time left, so the Saskatchewan Huskies will go into halftime trailing 21-10. All the momentum on the side of the Western Mustangs. Two big Chris Gaffney to Tyrone Williams passes, and the Mustangs lead the Vanier Cup at the half.
Imagine visiting yourself in the future.
You're me. Surprised? Surprised. I'm beside myself. 23 years later. A few more gray hairs, I see. We've earned every one. We earn this lifestyle, too? How do we pay for all this? Freedom 55.
Freedom 55. Protection today, plus a financial program that works, so one day you won't have to. Freedom 55. Talk to a London Life representative.
Here comes your future husband. I don't believe this.
The first one was made for the son of a fellow employee. We put our experience together and came up with the mechanical wrist.
Before, there's no way you could play hockey. He needs something more flexible.
We've made 15 since 1981, and it's been a great feeling seeing those kids playing hockey.
Roger, Emile, and Ray are just 3 of our over 48,000 Noranda employees whose dedication does us proud.
Who says you can't have a good wrist shot when you don't have a wrist?
There's a tasty snack just waiting to be discovered. Blue Diamond almonds. They make great snacks, too.
One half of football complete, and it is the Western Mustangs leading the Saskatchewan Huskies by a score of 21-10. Key third down turnover when Western was there to stop Saskatchewan, and they took it in for the score. So the Mustangs lead this 25th annual Vanier Cup by 11 at the half. The big award is, of course, the Vanier Cup Championship. The Mustangs, as I mentioned, lead it right now, but this one can go a number of directions. This is the 25th annual Vanier Cup, but the individual awards were handed out earlier this week in Toronto. You may have seen it on TSN Live, or you may have seen it just before our Vanier Cup broadcast. And here's the way the awards went. Chris Banton, the fine punt returner and defensive back for the Ottawa Gee-Gees, wins the Rookie of the Year Peter Gorman Trophy. The J.P. Metras Trophy goes to the top down lineman, Chris Gioskis of the Ottawa Gee-Gees, wins as well. So at that point, they were chanting the Gee-Gee fight song. Mark Singer was a nominee for the President's Trophy last year. He lost out to Leroy Blue, but this year he wins. A great linebacker from the University of Alberta. And the Heck Crichton Trophy last year went to Chris Flynn. This year, it goes to Chris Flynn again, and Jamie Bone, he's the first player in CIAU history to win a Pyram.
Well, actually, he's a great player, too. Very dynamic. We've seen him play 3 times this season, and Chris Flynn, dynamite football player. Let's hope he gets a chance to play football.
Well, I was able to open the envelopes this week, but you did some envelope opening of your own. The first ever Bone Awards. Tell me what the candidates were.
Well, I think what we wanted to do is we wanted to look at all the nice plays that we saw this year, and we thought the Bank of Montreal Awards that they had this year, they covered some of the top events, but hey, there were some great plays that we saw this year, and I thought, hey, why not put some awards together, call them the Bone Awards, and have some fun with them.
Well, these are the Bone Awards, not the Landsberg Bone Awards. Make note of that. And there are a lot of candidates. We'll know some people will be disappointed, but here are the winners of the first ever Bone Awards.
TSN proudly presents the Bone Awards. The first award is the Dog Pound Award for the best hit of the year. This year's winner is Calgary's number 33, Dave Van Bellingham, who crunches UBC quarterback Lance McDonald. Van Bellingham hit him so hard that McDonald's jersey number is still imprinted on the turf of McMahon Stadium. The Greyhound Award for the best run by a running back. Western's number 34, Dwayne Ford, gets his bone for this impressive display of strength and balance, bursting 48 yards versus the St. Mary's Huskies. The Whippet Award for the best run by a quarterback. We've seen him scramble, and we've seen him pass. But did anyone know that St. Mary's All-Canadian quarterback Chris Flynn was this fast? Flynn turned this broken play into a 65-yard gain against the Acadia Axemen. That bone should look pretty good between Flynn's 2 Heck Crichton trophies. Next up, the Golden Retriever Award for the best catch of the year. Lots of nominees for this award, but unquestionably the best was Alberta's wide receiver Daryl Safransky. Safransky gets this golden bone for his outstanding fingertip catch versus the Calgary Dinosaurs. The Go Fetch Award for the best interception of the year. During the annual Panda game between Ottawa and Carleton, Ravens defensive back Gord Surdock made this spectacular diving interception of a Cam Baird pass. The Pit Bull Award to the Wilfrid Laurier defense. We think the pictures will tell the story. Watch as Windsor quarterback Walt Tasman is viciously attacked by a pack of Laurier linebackers. Ah yes, we know you've been waiting for this one, the Mailman Award for quarterback sacks. St. Mary's defensive lineman Doug McKenzie puts the bite of more opposition quarterbacks than most mailmen get in a lifetime. The Dogfight Award for friendly rivalry. At least that's the way one of the winners, Jim Spiropoulos of the U of T Varsity Blues, described it.
Well, me and Georgie are good friends, eh?
It was really obvious.
We went to the same Greek school.
Come on, Jimmy. Good friends? I'm not so sure number 13 of York, George Valenza, shares your interpretation. Now the one you've been waiting for, the dreaded Lassa Apso Award for the most difficult name to pronounce. The award goes to Windsor defensive back Jim, that's the easy part, Aspropotomitis. Oh well, we'll just call him Jimmy A. The 101 Dalmatians Award to the students at Queen's University. Remember Queen's homecoming win over McGill? The best crowd of the year couldn't hold back their enthusiasm. It's something Queen's running back Paul Beresford will never forget. And finally, the Young Pup Award goes to St. Mary's head coach Larry Utek. Utek realized it's never too early to start looking for a replacement for Heck Crichton winner Chris Flynn.
Now, Larry, they look a little young for you to be recruiting.
Oh, they're big hearts, real big hearts. You got to look at them all over the place.
All right, Larry, let's have a look at the first half. And first at Saskatchewan, you and I suggested that the Western defense was a little vulnerable in the middle, and they hit a big play on it.
Yes, they certainly did. They caught him in a man-to-man defense, a linebacker on one of their inside receivers and hit him down for a 40-yard gain, I believe, down the middle.
You know, Rob Sinchek, 20 receptions on the season, 7 big catches in the playoff win over UBC, and he really has been one of the bright spots in the Saskatchewan offense this season. Well, the University of Western Ontario Mustangs, they had a couple of huge plays from their big receiver, Tyrone Williams. But you know, Larry, as they have a 21-10 lead going into the second half, I would think that running game, which is the bread and butter, they'll start to try and wear down Saskatchewan with it.
I think so. They have a very big offensive line. As we said at the beginning of the show, they've been running inside and outside fairly well on him. I think the middle linebacker, Saskatchewan, is playing well, but as soon as they react up, as you say, they hit him with a big pass down the side.
Well, you know, they seem to do it at you so many ways. Here, a slot back trap to Mike Clausen. He had a big touchdown, but they're a tough team to defense.
Well, they certainly are. They're very well. They scout very well. They see what you're reacting to, and they'll go the other way away from it. They have a very solid, well-rounded team, and it's very hard to defend.
What do you think Saskatchewan can do to get back in this game?
Well, they've got to throw the ball. There's no doubt about it. They've thrown very successfully, and they've got to go back to that. Throwing those outs, those sure outs, and then once they react to that, going to the post again.
All right, we are having a great time here at Sightlines. A perfect spot to watch the 1989 Vanier Cup. You at home, enjoy yourself. Michael?
Just wondering, was I a candidate for any Bone Awards?
No, you weren't, because you didn't look to me like you could actually fill Chris Lynn's shoes like those two kids that we saw at St. Mary's, so I had to disqualify you.
I got to tell you, you're not a candidate for any Landsberg Awards either. But the second half is certainly a candidate for a great finish. Right now, it's the Western Mustangs leading, but Saskatchewan has 30 minutes to try to catch up. We'll be back to the Vanier Cup in just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to attempt another McCain Cheddar taste test. Wendy has the McCain Cheddar, and her grandpa has the other leading brand. Wendy's tasting hers. It's smooth, smooth as the fresh milk it's made from. She really loves that creamy McCain taste. Sir, please, taste your own cheese. Sir. Oh, well, it's no surprise, because McCain calls on a century of cheese making to create that winning taste.
Grandpa likes McCain.
You're looking sharp, you're looking good. You've come so far, and we know how to make the most of who you are. Where the race is run, you're the champion. Gillette,
The Gillette Atra Plus system and Gillette Foamy Shave Cream, together the best a man can get.
Western Mustangs lead the Saskatchewan Huskies 21-10 on the 25th anniversary of the Vanier Cup, the first time it has ever been indoors, and one of the key men responsible for bringing it inside a Sky Dome is this man, Leon Abbott. He is the athletic director at Mount Allison University, also the president of the CIAU. What do you think? You like the field inside?
Oh, it's just a great spectacle, Michael, and I think it just has moved college football to another plateau. It's the first step on bigger and better things.
Is this the permanent home now of the Vanier Cup?
Well, certainly this is something that we have to decide in the future meetings, but with a start like this, how can we go anywhere else?
You got a great site, a great building. You hope you get a great game, and so far it has been.
Oh, I agree. I think that the play when they chose not to kick is the only thing that prevents us from a very, very close game, and even now, it's far from over. That Saskatchewan club's got a lot of heart, and I'm sure they'll be back.
You've been involved, obviously, in a lot of Vanier Cups over the course of the past while. Aside from this game itself, I've never felt a feeling in this city that you felt this week. More excitement ever generated. Is that what you felt too?
Oh, absolutely. This is just the finest spectacle for Canadian college sport that I've been involved with in my years with the CIAU, and I'm sure that each and every member of the CIAU, the players, the fans, everybody feels the same sentiments.
We certainly do at TSN. We're very proud to be a part of this first broadcast.
Michael, I would be very remiss if I didn't say thank you on behalf of the CIAU to TSN, because our involvement with the network has been just outstanding.
Well, you speak on behalf of the CIAU, I speak on behalf of TSN, and I say you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Leon Abbott is the president of the CIAU, and we are joined now by Ray Natishian, who is the Governor General designate in this country. Ray, thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here, Michael. A great game, wonderful spectacle. Really a boost to university athletics, and what excitement. A great game. I have to admit I'm from Saskatchewan, and I think the hometown boys may be down a bit, but the game is really sensational, and both teams are playing exceptionally well.
Well, let's not talk politics. Let's talk football. What do you think of the third down call?
I liked it. Look at it. This is the big game. Sometimes you got to do these things. We're not, Saskatchewan's not out of the game at all. We've got to have to make up, and you know, in a game like this, there's not many points to make up.
Now you were, I was told ahead of time, we're going to do the ceremonial opening kickoff, but we didn't see you kick the ball or hold the ball.
No, as a matter of fact, I just had a major hip surgery, so I usually put it through the uprights, but I thought modesty prevented me from doing it this time.
You didn't want to show up the two kickers and hammer it right down.
No, absolutely. But I was there, and Mr. Eden actually did a good job. I took the credit.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Great, and nice to be here, and congratulations to TSN and your support for university football.
Ray Natishian is the Governor General designate. He is also, we're very happy to say, here today for the 25th annual Vanier Cup. Let's go down to the field, and Peter Watts. Peter?
Thank you, Michael. Two gentlemen who 24 years ago were about a mile north of here in the livery of the University of Alberta Golden Bears. Darwin Simoniak, now the athletic director at Western, and Val Schneider, who is the athletic director and an assistant coach with the Huskies today. Your team up by 15. Let's go back 24 years. What do you remember about that day at varsity?
Well, I remember it was very wet and very cold, but just a tremendous experience to be in the first Vanier Cup.
Val, I know you've had a busy week down here, and yet from the point of view of being an athletic director, I'm sure you're glad your school is here and playing pretty good football, but also a part of the first Vanier in the Sky Dome.
No question, Peter. I think this is just a big boost, I know, for our football program, for the people in the province of Saskatchewan. And I think just looking at the atmosphere here and the crowd, I think college football is just got something going here, and I hope we stay in the Dome forever.
One quick answer from both of you, and I mean quick. Your thoughts on the first half and what you have to do in the second.
Well, I guess, you know, we've got to control the big play, and we know number 18 was a good football player, and you know, they caught us on first down, and I guess we had a couple of decisions that we made that are questionable, but that's behind us. New half coming up.
Darwin?
Yeah, I think we've got two very evenly matched football teams, and I think we're in for a really exciting second half. And college football in Canada is a big winner out of today.
Great to see both of you. Thanks for coming by. Good luck in the second half to both of you. Okay, Michael.
Well, we can tell you what the score is, and we can tell you who's leading, but when we return, we'll also show you how it got there. When we return, Jamie Bohm will have the first half highlights from the Vanier Cup. We'll return to Skydome in Toronto right after this.
Toronto's Varsity Stadium on a rainy November day played host to the first Vanier Cup in 1965. This Bryce Taylor to Mike Eben touchdown pass off a double reverse put the University of Toronto ahead to stay as they won the first ever Vanier Cup 14-7 over Alberta.
A message from one Honda owner to another. Take the Honda you so fondly cherish and perform this simple addition. And 3 to 4 years down the road, you'll happily find that the sum of the parts nicely adds up.
How do you dry wet garments in your home? This ineffective way? Or do you waste energy like this? The patented forced air mitten boot dryer solves the problem by opening your garments up and channeling warm air directly into them through these full-length slots, drying in a fraction of the time. It's fast, it's inexpensive, and it really works. Available all across Canada in these and other fine stores. Thousands of adults and children already enjoy the benefit of warm and dry mitts, boots, and running shoes all year long. Now you can too.
NBA action. It's fantastic.
First half is just moments away. Western Mustangs lead the Saskatchewan Huskies after one half of football by a score of 21-10. And yes, Saskatchewan did a great job in shutting down the inside trap game, but Western said all year long that, hey, there's a lot more to us than inside trap, and they're proving that right now.
Well, we talked about it earlier, Michael. We said, listen, in any kind of a defensive scheme, when you can take away trap, you have to, you know, you can take away trap, boy, leave something else open, and that's usually going to leave something open either off tackle, outside, or the pass game. Good defense, it can usually maybe shut down 2 or 3 of those, but not all of them, and that's what we're seeing here today. Western's doing a nice job.
Well, let's go to the Western defense right now. Saskatchewan came out throwing as we look at the first half highlights, and David Earl was not right on early.
No, not at all. I think he's looking here. Him and Gartner really weren't on the same page here because he's throwing the ball deep. Gartner runs by. You'll see him just at the bottom of your screen there, number 70, and Darryl Ford picks this ball off. Now, Ford, they were going after him a little bit last week at St. Mary's, but this week they might be going after him. But hey, he's really taking the challenge in stride here, and he returns this one 48 yards, which is going to set up Western's first touchdown.
Down to the 30-yard line, and right from there they took it down to the 1-yard line.
Well, when both backs start to split out, you can know Chris Gaffney's going to try and take it. Now the center was a little bit high there. He wants to get a little bit lower. Chris just made it over the end zone.
So it was 7-0 for the Western Mustangs. Saskatchewan got the ball back and went to its star.
Well, number 10, Dan Farthing. It looks like Western's got him stopped here. There's one tackle he breaks, and it looks like they've really got him corralled here. But this guy's just a great. Now watch how he just takes all the hits. He just keeps bouncing around, bouncing around. Next thing you know, Dan Farthing's in the end zone.
So Western was saying, hey, what do we do? They're taking away inside trap.
Well, they've decided what they're going to have to do is try and put the ball up in the air, and they decided to go after the rookie, number 11.
And Brown. They got down to the 5-yard line by doing that.
And they decided to run naked bootleg, and they beat Sean Gardner there, and Chris Gaffney makes a nice move to get it into the end zone.
So it was Western now up by a score of 14-7. Chris Gaffney with the score. Okay, 3rd down and a yard to go for Saskatchewan. 1.5 to play.
That's right. And Saskatchewan just get beat off the ball here. And a nice job here by Mike Lindley coming in, and then it enables Gary Clements, number 37, to fill on Richard Bury, and the ball gets turned over.
And Western decides to go at that point. I think Larry Haler's thinking, okay, we have the opportunity with a 4-point lead to really take control of this football game and go into the half with an 11-point lead. And he didn't waste any time going for the throat.
No, not at all. I think that when you've got people like Tyrone Williams playing outside, David Sapungis, I mean, you've got to get those people involved in the football game. And Western decided, hey, they are taking away the inside game. Let's try and get the ball out to those guys.
The matchup that they're looking for is Tyrone Williams on Errol Brown, and they got it.
All right, here you see Chris. Now, Chris is looking to the right, and he comes back here, and this is a perfectly thrown ball because Giebert's a little bit underneath here coming in, and Tyrone right on Errol Brown, and that results in the next touchdown.
Down to the 5-yard line. Normally they go inside trap, but not here.
Not here. Well, they give the look of the inside trap. Watch Dwayne Ford kind of go inside, but they give it to Clausen. They get the 2 guards out clean, and that's what's critical. You can see Krupe out in front, and then Clausen cuts underneath it because Del Palaga really overshot the play.
So at this point, it seems like Saskatchewan can't win the game with its defense. They're going to have to score some points. They trail it by 11 to win this football game. What do you think they have to do to get more of an established offense than they've had?
Well, I think they got to start running the ball a little bit now. They really haven't established that at all in this football game, and they have to control the football because Western is an explosive football team, and I think they cannot be turning the ball over, 2 plays on and coming off the field.
Now, you say they have to go to the ground game, and you think it's important, but the question is, can they run on the ground? Because they really had no success at all in the first half.
Well, they started running a little bit, not too bad when they get inside of Western's 20-yard line. They like more of that power game, but they've only run their trap game that we saw against UBC maybe once or twice this half. It was pretty successful when they ran it. They're not really getting outside because Western has some pretty good people outside, the outside linebackers. I think inside is where Western might be a little bit vulnerable.
So Jamie Bone says go to the inside trap game and you better run the ball, Saskatchewan Huskies, because the Huskies trail it by 11 right now. The second half of the Vanier Cup is to come. When we return, it's the kickoff with the Mustangs leading the Huskies by 11.
If you're serious about athletic footwear, then think National Sports Center. We've built our reputation on bringing you the largest selection of brand name footwear at the lowest possible prices. On the field, on the court, or around the track, choose from over 275,000 pairs of athletic footwear. For your feet, for your sport, think National Sports Center, where your fun starts with us, guaranteed.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps? Clinically proven Back Guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain. Amazing. Something down here can help up here. New Back Guard from Dr. Scholl's.
People who think all motor oils are the same should have their heads examined. Just look at his head. See the sludge that can build up? The scoring on this piston. And this metal wearing away because someone didn't give their oil a second thought. Well, think about it. And switch to premium Valvoline all climate. Beats every car manufacturer's warranty specs. There's nothing rated higher than Valvoline. Nothing.
Some have let life get complicated. Others will never let life get that way. GWG.
Indianapolis Colts stampede their way towards the end zone. The New York Jets have a flight plan of their own. Both teams brace themselves for this AFC Eastern collision. The Jets, the Colts, kick off at 8 Eastern. Sunday night NFL on TSN.
If the Saskatchewan Huskies could look down, they'd see this. The Western Mustangs leading by a score of 21-10 at the half as we get set for the second half kickoff. And we take a look at the first half statistics, which give you a good idea of what each team is doing well. The Western Mustangs are passing the ball pretty well, 115 yards, 74 on the ground. Conversely, Saskatchewan has nothing on the ground, 36 yards only, and the 3 turnovers, 2 of them on interceptions when they started well in Western Territory, and the other one on downs.
Well, I mean, that's the story right now is the turnovers because of, well, with just under a minute left to go in the first half, Saskatchewan turning the ball over to Western on their own, inside of their own end. It results in a Western touchdown, and they right now have a 21-10 lead. But, you know, we said it was going to come down probably to how the quarterbacks are playing, and really it has, because look at the yards rushing. Not big numbers there for a Western Mustang team, and it looks like Saskatchewan has gone away from that. Now, before the break, we're saying that I think Saskatchewan have to run the football. Now, people are going to look at that and say, hold it now, they're down by 11 points. They've got to throw the ball to get back in this game. The reason I say that, there's lots of time. They really have to establish themselves physically on offense, I think, to get Western out of playing from that lead, because when you're starting to play in a lead, Western thinks they're going to try and just throw the ball now. They're going to have their ears pinned back. They're going to be coming after David Earl. And it's hard to play quarterback under those circumstances. So they have to establish part of the run game, because there's still a lot of time left. You've got 30 minutes this half.
Well, Saskatchewan has the running attack traditionally. Eichler was the third leading rusher in the West, and Simchuk was the fourth. So not only do they have guys that can carry the ball, but they've got balance as well. But still today, Western appears to have come out and decided that they will take away the run, which is what they did in the first half, limiting Eichler and Simchuk to only 36 yards on the ground, 14 of those on the Dan Farthing twisting, turning touchdown. But we were talking how turnovers made the difference. Consider the 3 for Saskatchewan. 1 interception in the end zone, 1 interception that set up a touchdown, and 1 interception, or rather turnover on downs, that enabled Western not only to score the touchdown but go in with the momentum.
That's right. Turnovers really have been the bad news really for the Saskatchewan Huskies in the first half.
Ryan Towers watches Western kick it away, and that is the 15-yard line. And the return is 25 yards off the 50-yard kick. And that's where David Earl and Saskatchewan Huskies, Dim Trishan brought it out 25 yards, will begin with the ball at their 41-yard line. Earl's first half did not start particularly well, 11 of 19. Many of those yards on the great read that he made. He saw Western come with one of its few blitzes of the first half. He saw it and hit Simchuk, his running back, about 10 yards into the Western secondary, and he took it down to the 5-yard line. Okay, Saskatchewan has the ball, and they trail it 21-10. We're just underway in the second half of the Vanier Cup. Earl with good time, and Earl, his receiver, slipped and fell. Lorne Keane was the intended receiver. Penalty came down in the secondary. Keane pleaded with one official, didn't get the call he wanted, but there is some infraction. And the direction that number 11 is pointing would indicate to me that it's probably against Western.
That's what it looks like right now.
Ken Green will tell us.
Ordinary interference, number 50 Western. First down.
It was interesting. Keane got up and he was looking at the official. The official shook his head, but another official jumped in and threw the flag.
It looks like Saskatchewan have changed some people. They brought in Tim Irving in the first part of this or the opening of the second half. The wide receiver replaced Rod Revering. Now Revering's back in the football game, but they also have Keane in the football game now, playing a tight end in place of Kevin Sander.
First and 10 after the penalty, 49-yard line. Earl with time, over to Farthing, and it's picked off by Ford. Darryl Ford left his man and made the interception.
Well, Darryl Ford's really making us eat crow this week, I can tell you that much. This is a great play by Darryl Ford. They're looking at trying to hit Farthing right in the gap, but Darryl comes off of his man and makes a great interception.
Now Farthing had to figure he was in great shape because he had beaten 2 guys and Ford wasn't the man that was covering him, but Ford just read the play and picks off another interception. Western with an 11-point lead, just underway in the second half, can grab a big lead now. There's Rob Stewart, and Stewart just got tripped up by Palaga from down on the ground. He stuck a foot up, and Stewart picked up 5. It'll be 2nd and 5.
There's no one over right off the bat.
Everybody said he looked right at him.
Yep, that's who he's playing off. Daryl's been around for a few years. He knows how younger quarterbacks have a tendency to play, and they cannot telescope who they're going to throw it to right off the bat, or a good defensive back will step in every time and try and make a big play.
Second down and a short 5 for Rob Stewart, and Stewart is not going to pick up the first down. Came up about 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards short. And everybody on the Western side looks over to the bench to see what Larry Haler has planned. Haler is going to kick it away. He knows he's got an 11-point lead. I think that's a good decision.
I think it is too right now. There's no sense in giving Saskatchewan anything right now because they're down a little bit after the interception. And kick it away. Well, we'll see actually if John LeClaire can get a good kickoff this time. And maybe for the first time in this game start Saskatchewan deep in their own end.
Farthing and Gertner are back, the two most dangerous offensive players for Saskatchewan. Claire not having a good day. But he gets a nice kick here, best of the game. Farthing at his 9. And Farthing stayed on his feet for a while, but it was not very productive. A return of 6. The Huskies have the ball, but right at their own 15-yard line when we return.
And we have the baby carrots, cauliflower, and broccoli with pasta in a beautiful cheese sauce.
Ever noticed how some restaurants make vegetables the tastiest part of the meal? Now you can too with McCain Garden Classics. Young vegetables with fancy pasta frozen in 4 different sauces and ready from the microwave in only 4 minutes.
And tonight in the beautiful cheese sauce. Oui.
McCain Garden Classics make vegetables the tastiest part of your meal.
Welcome back to the Sky Dome in Toronto. The Western Mustangs ahead 21-10 early in the 3rd quarter, and Leif Pedersen along with Larry Utek at sightlines in the Sky Dome. And Larry, what a turnaround. Last week, Darryl Ford is taken out of the game against you because he was getting beaten. This afternoon, a couple of interceptions.
It certainly is. Darryl Ford had a very poor game last week, but this week he's played exceptionally. A couple underthrown passes, but mind you, he's been right there on the job, caught them, reacted well to the ball, and he made 2 big plays for the Western defense.
Well, it's always nice to see a young player come back after a bad week and do well. Michael?
And one of the things that he's done, Jamie, let's talk about his 2 interceptions. Both times they've been going to Farthing, meant that he wasn't covering.
That's right, actually. Or the other time, I think that I'm not sure if the first one they were going to Farthing or not. I think it was just a misread between Gartner and David Earl, the quarterback. And he just happened to be there in the spot. But that second one, that was a smart defensive play by an experienced player. And you know, you had to feel good for Dale in that regard that he's bounced back from last week.
Well, it hurt Brian Towers only in terms of field position. 15-yard line is where Saskatchewan will begin this drive. And they go to the ground. Eisler, but he hits hard, but he gets hit even harder coming the other way. And again, Saskatchewan not able to run up the middle of that Western defense. Dan Lane and that man, Mike LaFontaine, in to limit Eisler's gain to only 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8. And the injured player for Saskatchewan is number 46, Al Neufeld.
Now he is a player that they cannot afford to lose. He really is, I think, one of their top guards. But he is the best guard, Al Neufeld.
So Saskatchewan really is going to have to try to find a way to turn this football game around. It's not so much the fact that they're down by that much. It is only 11 points, but right now they don't have field position and they don't have a lot going for them.
No, they really need a big play here. And most coaches will tell any quarterback when you're down inside of your own end zone and you're looking right in the shadow of your own goalpost, that's when the biggest play of the football game really has to happen. Because that gets you out of the hole. Now they're lucky that they have a kicker like Lezecki who can kick the ball out of there, but they've got to start moving the ball offensively.
And a reminder to stay tuned immediately following today's broadcast for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you today by Remington.
Mr. Kayam, I hate shaving.
Doug, try this Remington microscreen. It shaves as close as a blade or your money back. No other shaver makes that promise.
Smooth. Now I know why you bought the company.
The Remington microscreen.
Al Neufeld still down. You're talking about candidates for Turning Point. If Western hangs on and wins this football game, I'd say no question it is that 3rd down decision to go for it by Brian Towers.
I agree totally. I think that showed a lot of guts there, and if it had worked, obviously they would have held the ball probably to the end of the half, but they got stuffed on it and Western took it in to score.
But not just the play itself, but also the play reflective of the big picture, which is the fact that Saskatchewan simply can't run the ball.
Yeah, they're really having some difficulties right now, and now when they're losing a guy like Al Neufeld walking off the field, it's going to even be more difficult to run the football as he seems to be favoring the shoulder a little bit.
Simchuk has 1 carry for 2. Eisler has 9 carries for just 22 yards. So not what you want from 2 fine runners like that. Earl now goes shotgun. Kelvin Sander back in the game. He and Farthing and Gertner line up to the right. Earl steps up and throws the ball and gets hit just as he was throwing it, and it certainly limited the effectiveness. Again, Dan Lane playing a fine game for Western on the defensive line there to disrupt the play.
Well, they feel Dan Lane's one of their best defensive linemen, and you can see Chris Walker, number 60, in the middle of your screen, but from the right side, Dan Lane gets there just as Earl's trying to throw the football. And boy, if you can have a player that rushes a quarterback like that, does that ever take pressure off your defensive secondary?
Also, if you can rush against Brian Towers in that Saskatchewan offense with 3 rush linemen and get to the quarterback, that has to play a big factor.
Well, that's right. Now take a look at the matchups you got.
Now Lezecki stood in under a big rush and got away a fine kick. Sapunjis the only man back, and Sapunjis not able to get to the outside. Saskatchewan gets down very quickly. Lezecki having a great game for Saskatchewan punting. He had to field a high snap and fell the rush, but got rid of it. You see how difficult really it is for him to extend his knee fully.
Well, Saskatchewan really do have nice special teams. They work on them hard. You can tell they have great confidence in them, and whenever you have a punter like Lezecki.
This is really bad. You were saying that they couldn't afford to lose Al Neufeld, their right guard. Here's their left guard, Cal Hobbs, down as well.
Well, I know, speaking from experience as a quarterback, you don't like to see any of your folks up front, the offensive linemen, get hurt. They're the ones that are trying to look after your health. You can see if we can see where number 44 Cal Hobbs gets hurt right here. Funny, sometimes the most innocent of tackles are sometimes serious. We hope it isn't serious. See him trying to squeeze the trainer's hand.
And the Mustangs now have the ball at about midfield and are in pretty good position to win the Vanier Cup. There's already been a couple of winners this week. We told you about the Heck Crichton Award and the other awards that were handed out. We should also tell you the Watch and Win sweepstakes winner, the grand prize winner for an Isuzu Trooper automobile. And there were, well, everybody here was a candidate for the Watch and Win sweepstakes win. We had winners all through the season. John Allaby of Toronto, Ontario came to the Vanier Cup. May have walked in. He'll drive out in an Isuzu Trooper. Congratulations to John Allaby. And here's a look at what John Allaby will drive out in. Actually, there are those cars all across the country. Each school received an Isuzu Trooper, generally driven by the coaches.
That's right, yeah. They all, most of the head coaches, I think, are driving them. I think maybe with a few exceptions, but that's when being athletic director and head coach is better. The athletic director sometimes, I'm sure, would like to have the vehicle, but I think in most cases we've seen the coaches driving them around, and they really enjoy driving them, and it's nice to see the TSN logo on there as well as the Vanier Cup logo and the rest of the corporate sponsors. And it looks like people here in the stadium are really having a lot of fun today, and it's really nice to see. It's been a long time in the works to move the Vanier Cup into the Sky Dome, and you really have to give a credit to a lot of people.
Well, I guess the first thing they had to do was build the thing and finish building it, which wasn't completed until this year.
Yeah, it looks like he gets his head in there. It's really hard to say what had happened, and we don't want to speculate by any means, but I think what might have happened there when his shoulder is down, and I think it might have caused a separation. And
you know, his shoulder got pinned underneath, and he kept rolling.
That's
and
correct.
His shoulder just couldn't go with him.
Yeah, that's what happens. A ligament that kind of holds that clavicle bone to the
Brian Towers
shoulder.
Now concerned about Cal Hobbs and Al Neufeld as well. Neufeld was forced out to play before this. The second half not starting the way Brian Towers wanted. The first half didn't end the way he wanted, and things haven't gone well so far. Already an interception by David Earl. Saskatchewan trails it by 11, and their 2 guards are hurt, and Western has the ball. Let's go to Peter Watts.
All right, Michael, usually you talk about 5 years of college eligibility. Here's a gentleman who hasn't missed a Western game since 1974. Professor Al Philbrick, Professor Emeritus now at Western. Any idea how many miles you've run?
Oh, yeah, quite a few. You know, and in 15 years I've run around the earth, but not at football games.
Three times today around here. What's this carpet like to run on?
Oh, it's not too good, actually. It's a little bit too stiff. I much prefer grass.
but it is a little warmer.
Oh yes, this is a wonderful facility, you know. Canada has done itself proud to have this place.
You're having a little fun here, and your football team's playing pretty well.
Yes, I think we are. I think we really are. This is a great game.
Tell me about being a faculty advisor to this team. You spend a lot of time with some of these players. What is the workload like?
Well, the real problem is to try to keep the freshmen from getting too far behind so that they don't waste a year. And that's a big problem. And we're licking it.
Well, it's a labor of love, I'm sure. For 15 years, you've had a good time with this.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Keeps me young.
Thanks for being with us. Hope you got to run a couple more times, Chad, if you're a Western fan.
Right. Thank you very much.
Michael and Jamie.
Bye-bye.
Well, you put a few miles on Al, and I guess playing in the OUAA when traditionally there have been some very weak teams, he's been forced to really race around, and Philbrick has put a lot of miles, as he said. He goes around the track each time Western scores a touchdown, as you see obviously what's going on with Cal Hobbs.
Well, I think one thing's for certain, you can be sure that Cal Hobbs will be receiving some of the best medical treatment here, because I know both institutions bring their own team physicians, and saw Dr. Fowler here earlier. I know from the Western contingent, and he's one of the most well-respected surgeons in North America.
Well, again, we shouldn't be making the diagnosis from here, but it appears as though his right shoulder got caught underneath the player, and as he continued to roll with the play, his shoulder would not budge with him. And that's our diagnosis as we watch the replay, but whether it's accurate or not, or the extent of the injury, it's difficult to say. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looks. Let's go to Lee Pedersen right now, who's along with Larry Utek.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. And Larry, I'd like to talk a little bit about the facility here at the Sky Dome now. Personally, as a former wide receiver, I love playing in conditions like this with no elements, a nice fast track. But I know you, in your old defensive back days with Toronto and BC and Ottawa and Montreal, you probably like to be out in the mud and roll around a little bit.
Well, I certainly did. I like the game to slow down. I didn't want any of these quick wide receivers running around on me. I was hoping for pouring rain, muddy field, where I could line up in the line of scrimmage and play the run and forget about the pass.
You know, you may be able to tell me this. I have never been able to figure out why in university football you cannot wear a little bit of a longer cleat outside when the conditions are really bad. And I understand this year they may change something for next season.
Well, they're considering going back to wearing the longer cleats, but it's been 12 years now since we have been able to. They feel that it's in the past it was dangerous, or knee injury. You plant, your foot really sticks in there. But it has hampered the game quite a bit, because when you get on a muddy field, we find almost comical conditions happening, and if guys falling down in the middle of the field, no one touching them, and it'd be nice to be able to wear the long cleat.
All right, Larry. Michael, back to you and Jamie.
Well, the delay is, of course, for the injured Cal Hobbs, one of the offensive guards. Unfortunately, he's hurt, and so is the other offensive guard, Al Neufeld of the Saskatchewan Huskies. And there's really a lot of bad news in the second half. They trail at 21-10. The Mustangs have the ball, and have the ball in good field position. You get the feeling that there's a point in the game that Western can take control. It's right now.
Oh, I agree, Michael. I think that they really are in control of their own destiny right now. They're going to have the football here. They've got it probably for the first time in this football game. They have it in pretty good field position. Normally they've been starting way back in their own end. And you know, psychologically, when you see a player get hurt, especially on your own team, you don't like to see that at all. And I don't think either team likes to see that. And we can just hope that Cal Hobbs is going to be okay. And you know, a lot of times for people watching at home, he might not be that seriously hurt, but they do not want to take any chances whatsoever. And I think that's a real tribute to CIAU football in their regards to all the medical people that work with the university football teams. If there's any doubt, they don't do anything. And did you notice as well that when he was hurt, none of the players came around to try to assist him, because most of the coaches let their players know, don't touch anybody. If somebody is injured or hurt, you make sure that you let the medical people look after him.
Bart Arnold is not a starter, but he is now going to figure in this, the 25th anniversary Vanier Cup. Arnold will be forced to play one of the guard positions. Ray Weens, number 60, is the other. So Arnold and Weens together on the bench, talking over now their starting assignments. And Saskatchewan felt as though offensive line was one of the places where they had some depth, and their depth will certainly be put to the test today. Cal Hobbs is helped by stretcher and will be helped off the field. And we'll try to get word as to the extent of his injury. Peter Watts is on the sidelines, and he'll try to find out what the story is with Cal Hobbs and also Al Neufeld, the other guard for the Saskatchewan Huskies. Chris Gaffney has played a pretty good game at quarterback, and there's talk that maybe there's a relationship between number 11 and performance in the Vanier Cup. You wore number 11. You won 2 Vanier Cups. Chris Gaffney wears number 11, and he's very close to winning one.
And there's a couple other people that wore number 11. Joe Fabiani, the quarterback when Western won their first Vanier Cup championship in '71. He wore 11. And Bill Robinson, after leaving St. Mary's in 1973 when they won the Vanier Cup, switched to Western, played his final year of eligibility. And, of course, he wore, what else? Number 11. So it's interesting that Western has only won Vanier Cups and the quarterback wears number 11. Now, I'm not much of a numerologist or whatever you want to call them, but I'm sure some people will read something into that. But at this point in time in the football game, I'm sure Chris Gaffney is very happy that he's wearing number 11.
And he's happy in a number of ways with number 11 because he has an 11-point lead. Let's go downstairs to Peter.
Okay, Mike, I'll just talk to Dr. Pete Fowler of Western, and that player has a jam neck. They're being real cautious about moving him. He has been able to move all of his arms and legs and fingers and toes, so it does not appear to be all that serious, but they'll be real cautious and take him back to the dressing room to check him out.
That's where he's headed right now. Saskatchewan, interestingly, holding a huddle on the sidelines right now. The Saskatchewan Huskies trailing 11 points, and you see them just breaking the huddle at the top right of your screen. So some words from Brian Towers to try to get his team back in the game. Western 1st and 10, their own 51-yard line with the 11-point lead. They fake to Stewart, and they want Tyrone Williams deep. Williams, with that big size, has the ball knocked away. Back from behind the play to assist was Phil Giebert.
Well, Phil Giebert had not have come back. That would have been another big big reception for Tyrone Williams. You see in isolation now. See, Williams has his hips turned now. Brown does a speed turn, but look at the differences in size in these two guys here. And Giebert comes back and makes a nice play right there to break that up.
You know, that's a ball. You generally, you don't want to underthrow a guy, right? But in a play like that, that's almost impossible for Brown to try to disrupt.
It is, because Tyrone's so big.
So Western, we talked about them trying to break this game open, goes right to the air, and they're left with 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush, and they dump it away, but Clausen with the reception doesn't pick up a yard, and Saskatchewan, if they're looking to try to get a boost and get some momentum, may have done it.
Yeah, they certainly have right now. I mean, they've stalled Western's drive, and the possibility John LeClaire coming in to kick, they should be able to have fairly good, reasonable field position, probably around their own 25 or 35-yard line.
You see the Western fans beginning to celebrate. A couple of years ago, there were some Western fans celebrating at Varsity Stadium.
What do you mean a couple of years ago? Try last week at St. Mary's, there were a couple of people trying to celebrate, and with 2 minutes left to go in the game, and I think one person right up here in the broadcast booth was saying that the game was all over, and
well, it was over.
Well, they had to add a few more seconds.
Yep. Not a bad kick this time from John LeClaire. Fielded by Dan Farthing, and Farthing is just swarmed over and picks up only a couple of yards. Down very quickly for the Western Mustangs was Greg Colwich. So Saskatchewan gets a bit better field position. They kick from their own 15-yard line. They get the ball back at the 32, and right now every inch certainly counts.
You know what they did inside, don't they? Yeah. This across the center. Remember, I won't go behind and try and pick them up there. I'll just stay. Yeah. Did we have a force call? We're going to stay, but behind me, he's got
Did we have a force call? What is a force call?
Well, he was talking about the twist, and he's talking about how the nose had gone out one side, the tackle, and try to loop around him. And if they're blocking the guy's man up front, sometimes you can create a gap, and the tackle, offensive tackle gets blocked off.
David Earl swings it out of the backfield for Simchuk, but the pass isn't a good one, and Chris Bean was there as well. So Saskatchewan will be left with 2nd and 10. And they're not getting really anything on 1st down at all.
Well, David Earl coming out here. We're going to see why he overthrows here. He's got very good feet, and he's looking out and trying to hit Simchuk. I mean, that's a nice delivery. Just one of those ones, I guess, that gets away from you every now and then.
Well, the opposite's true also. Sometimes you can have the ugly delivery and get the ball right there. So.
That's right. No, it looks like, you know, I guess you got to make a decision on where you want to put it. Everybody wants to put it in the numbers all the time, but it doesn't always happen.
2nd and 10. Now Tipitoes not much of a runner, and there is outstanding pursuit. Mike Kolodich, excuse me, made the tackle, and Earl really isn't that mobile back there.
No, and Mike Kolodich is a great player. Now watch this. Now the defensive line, when he's rushing, they always say never get deeper than the quarterback. So when the quarterback steps up, now Mike is a little bit deeper, but he comes off with a block, and he makes a nice sack. Because what they don't want is a quarterback to be able to step up and get around you. But Michael's a good athlete. At 6'4", 215 pounds. He can run pretty well.
Well, we showed you a graphic earlier about Western's defense during the regular season. They gave up only an average of just over 10 points a game. And you hear so much about their trap offense and their offense in general, then you can forget that they have a great defense. And here's a great kick by Lezecki. Sapunjas at his 40. And Sapunjas ends up at his 40. If there's one area that Saskatchewan's dominating, it's in specialty teams. Lezecki, after every kick, hobbles off the field, but still after doing his job.
And that's right, it is his job, because boy, when you hang those punts up, you allow your punt cover team to get down, they get in all their lanes, and they get broken down. And what I mean by broken down, they get under control before the ball is even caught.
This game in the second half so far has turned out to be a defensive battle, 2 possessions for each team, and really nothing successful offensively either way. Western now 1st and 10, and it's 41. Both guards out in front. Clausen able to turn the corner, and he tippy-toes his way about a half yard short of a first down.
Well, they've been running this all day. You know, they're getting the guards out clean here, and Clausen gets out. And once he sees that gap between Pat Mann, he does a nice job there in setting that block up, and Phil Giebert comes across.
Now, he said he set it up. Was that he dipped his shoulder?
That's right. He brought the defender inside, and he made it an easy block for the offensive guard that was out leading the play.
And he picked up 9.5, second down and less than a yard. Ford and Stewart in the backfield. They fake to Stewart, and they go deep over the middle to Sapunjas. There's Giebert, and Giebert had a great chance at an interception. And he holds his head because he knows that there was a chance to try to turn this game around.
Well, that's really gutsy call there in second down. I kind of like the call. But Phil Giebert plays this as well as you can play it as a safety. See how he goes up nice and high, and he almost comes down with the interception. But the key to that, he's going up to the highest point, and you can see as his hands up, loses the ball, and then grabs the old head saying, geez, I had that ball.
He made 10 interceptions during the regular season, leading the West. John Wright now in, twin fullbacks, Ford and Wright. Third down and less than a yard. Western will gamble. Saskatchewan did once, it didn't pay off, and Western gambles, and Wright just puts his head down and drives ahead for an easy first down.
Now, we talked about John Wright last week and how at the end of the season he was not playing this year, and they lost their other backup fullback, and John was in school, and Larry Haler went to him before the Guelph game, I guess, the last game of the season, said, listen, John, we're down to our last people. Would you consider coming back out again? And John said, sure, I'd love to come back out and play. And even though he's not a starter, and he had been the last few years, he's really fit in very nicely and been a big addition to that football team.
But in those years when he was having great years, he never won a Vanier Cup. Now he has a chance as a substitute player, and Robbie Stewart finds his biggest hole.
Now that's counter trap right there, and they love to run that with Robbie Stewart. The inside trap's not working so well, but what they're trying to do now is give all flow to the outside, and we're going to see it here. Now watch. The tackle comes from the backside. It's counter tackle trap. You see 68 Scott Douglas in the bottom of your screen. So it looks like everything is going outside, and then the tackle from the right side comes back across, and you get counter trap. So a little bit different look, but still the inside trap game.
Chris Gaffney and the Mustangs lead at 21-10, and they have a second down and a half yard to go. Last time they were in this, they passed. This time they run to Ford, and Ford still finds every inch very painful to make. Del Palaga reached down and limited his gain to a couple, but still it's a first down for the Mustangs.
Well, Del Palaga, we've called his name out a few times today. Very, very physical football player.
You caught a bit of the signal there from Larry Haler. Do you know what it was?
No, I didn't see enough of it to know what he was going to call. I'll see if I can pick it up the next time.
Tyrone Williams goes wide to the right for Chris Gaffney. Dave Sapunjas to the left. Tibber Ribby, the all-Canadian tight end, has been held off the reception sheet so far. First and 10. There's counter trap as Jamie called it again, and Rob Stewart, for the second straight time on that play, picks up close to 10.
Now this time, instead of bringing Over Scott Douglas, you're going to bring the non-Radulovic, the big 6'6", 265-pound tackle. And it looks like all flow's going there. You see Radulovic, 61. And so what's happening is that they're freezing their inside linebackers, Ed Carlton and Palaga, because they want to go with flow, because that's where the flow goes, but it comes back, and they can get better angles on them.
Second down and a short one. Ford with some room this time. The big guy gets it going, and Dwayne Ford barrels down to the 23-yard line, where Western is now taking control. That's the most running room that Dwayne Ford has had so far today. So far, to give you an idea how difficult it's been, Dwayne Ford on 9 carries has just 31 yards, and he picked up 10 on that play.
Well, it shows you how counter trap can start to set up the inside trap, and they're starting to give them some different looks. And the thing that they're trying to do now with Saskatchewan is keep them staying at home.
Saskatchewan is really getting beat up physically, and they've lost both their starting guards, and now that is Ed Carlton, one of their fine inside linebackers, who's down and currently in a lot of pain.
Okay, you see Ed Carlton in the upper right corner here. He goes down. You can't quite see what had happened to him, but obviously it looks like his knee somehow. And looks to be in a little bit of pain, a lot of pain.
Mustangs have come out and done it on the ground now, as you see a bit of this crowd that is still yet to be determined. Now, is that a straw that I see there connected? I'd like to see the drink on the end of the straw.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it is, it's the longest one I've ever seen.
Let's see where it leads.
Yeah, it is. It is. They've attached all these straws together, I guess, from the...
Certainly a noble thing to spend your time on. The longest straw in history. And this, the 25th annual Vanier Cup. It'll be remembered for a lot more than that.
Stomach troubles. They can blow in like an ocean storm, bringing heartburn, or upset stomach, or even diarrhea. That's why you should always have Pepto-Bismol on board. Pepto's special triple-action coating formula goes to work quickly to cool heartburn, calm upset stomach, and relieve diarrhea with a layer of effective soothing pink medication. Pepto-Bismol's triple-action coating formula turns tummy troubles into smooth sailing.
Time remaining in the third quarter is under 5 minutes. The Mustangs have an 11-point lead. And, you know, I draw the analogy to a puzzle. You can look over it, and you can look over it for a while, and eventually you try to fit the parts to the puzzle. And I think that's what Western's done. They've been looking for something in that Saskatchewan defense for 3 quarters, and maybe they found it now.
Well, they were having some success running outside, but they, you know, the bread and butter for Western, and it has been since Larry Haler has been there as the offensive coordinator, is the trap game. And the reason they developed the trap game was because initially they didn't have very big people, and they felt they needed angles, and the trapping game allows you to get angles, smaller people on bigger people, so therefore you're not having to take them head on. And now they've got some big people playing there, and they're still running the trap, and they love to go back to it. They do not want anybody to try and take that away from them, and not very many teams have in the past number of years.
Well, Ed Carlton's a great middle linebacker, 6'2", 240 in his 5th year, and they were running into the middle when he was in there. Now he's out. Let's see if Western goes right to it. 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line. There's Mike Clausen. Clausen appeared to be looking at some daylight, but coming from behind the play was number 69, Greg Mamer. The first time I think I've called his name today.
That was a great play by Mamer there, I can tell you that. It looked like they were getting out pretty clean, but he came down the line of scrimmage, what they call a scrape, and he made a nice play.
Got to believe that Saskatchewan cannot afford to give up a touchdown at this play. Trail it by 11 with 4 minutes to play in the third quarter. 21-10. Gaffney now 2nd down and 6. Saskatchewan stacks it up in the middle. They've got 7 men there. Gaffney to the air with a man in his face. He looks for Tyrone Williams. Has got it. Brown simply couldn't get around the 6'5" Williams. 19 yards for the score.
Well, what a great play. And I'll tell you, that play was, you want to know a quarterback that knows the blitz is coming. Watch Chris Gaffney. All these guys are stacked up there. Pelagi, you see Troy Keane, 47. And Gaffney knows it's coming, and he just spins around really quick and puts the ball outside. And then as Tyrone Williams' size goes up at the highest point, and Errol Brown doesn't have a chance. Now watch Chris. He knows it's coming. And he knows he's got to get rid of that football. He's got one-on-one coverage outside and man coverage. I mean, that's a real heads-up play by the quarterback.
You know, defensive coaches will always tell you there's a way to defensive play. I have no idea how Errol Brown could possibly have got to the ball.
The only thing he could have done was interfere. That really is probably the only thing that he could have done.
The underthrown pass, so difficult for a player like that with Williams' size. Chris Gaffney has done the job. So is Tyrone Williams. The Mustangs lead it by 18.
Wow, I feel good. There's a whole line of Gillette Foamy to give your special skin more shaving comfort. In an advanced moisturizing formula, sensitive skin formula, and cooling menthol. All to keep your face feeling good. So good!
You only get the real feeling by doing it. Choose a career. Live the adventure.
Welcome back to the 1989 Vanier Cup. Leif Pedersen along with Larry Utek up in sight lines, and Western finally now in the third quarter really starting to take control of this game. You know, Larry, I saw Saskatchewan last week. I did the game, and I couldn't imagine another team in Canada being as physical as Saskatchewan, but they have met their match today in Western.
They certainly have. Well, Western was certainly the most physical team we played all year, and the thing is they just keep coming and keep coming. They keep running that play. If it doesn't work at first, they're going to try a different angle on it and keep trying until it does work. And if you over-adjust to it, as we said at the beginning of the game, you're going to get a touchdown like you just got. A little flip out to Tyrone Williams there. Use his height advantage. A touchdown.
All right, Larry, you can see it's a great place to be here at Sightlines. Michael?
Well, so far today, Chris Gaffney has completed 6 passes. Not a lot for this point of the game as you look at the scoring drive for the Western Mustangs. 70 yards, most of it on the ground, but the last 19 by Tyrone Williams. 4 of the completions to big Tyrone Williams for 134 yards. Dim Trishan gets fortunate. He watched the ball and kind of gave up on it, thinking it was going to go out of bounds, and the ball tight-roped its way and did finally go out of bounds.
Well, especially in this kind of AstroTurf, it's very hard, and sometimes you get that little spin on the football. You don't want to let it go too long because it's a free football. It's an onside kick.
So Steve McCann will kick it off again. Mustangs now in great position to win their first Vanier Cup. Since the 1970s, they have lost 4 straight Vanier Cup games, 2 for Larry Haler, and 1 his team was beaten pretty soundly by the Calgary Dinosaurs. The next year, it appeared as though Haler and the Mustangs had won the Vanier Cup when Eric Patato came off the bench and led UBC to a last-second touchdown. You were an assistant coach. Where did you watch that play from?
I was right in the sidelines. I think we were all down pretty close to the end zone there. I think we had strung it all the way down, but yeah, that was a very heartbreaking loss.
Wayne Dimtrishan brings it out to the 42-yard line, and now we can say it with 3:27 to play. If the Mustangs lose this one, it'll be heartbreaking as well because they are in command.
Yes, they are. They're in command here right now. Now I think what's going to happen, you're going to start to see Saskatchewan come out here in shotgun formation, and they're going to just start to throw the football. Now, I think that's what Western are probably going to try to do to match up. They're going to try and play man coverage underneath, I would assume, and try and play zone on top and really force David Earl to have to put the ball on the money.
Let's take a look at who lines up for Saskatchewan on that offensive line. They do have the injuries to their guards. David Earl's day has been good times, but also with the 3 interceptions, not very good. Neufeld is back into the football game, so it's Weems and Neufeld at guard. And Earl fakes to Eisler, and now he screens it to Farthing, who needs a block, and he got one, and then he gets another one. Farthing is going to try to turn the corner. Boy, is he ever tough to bring down, but along with Farthing on the ground is a flag. You know, he's broken more tackles in the 2 plays that he's had than I think the rest of the Saskatchewan team put together.
Well, they have to get him the ball more. I think there's no doubt about that, and I think they're starting to realize that. But I think it's coming back because I believe there was a clip on the screen for an illegal block.
And I guess if you're looking for things that Western have done to take this 18-point lead.
Illegal block, number 59, Saskatchewan. First down, repeated.
That's Derek Wilkinson, the center. But if you're looking for things that Western has done defensively, it's take Farthing out of the game. He has not caught a pass downfield today.
No, he hasn't, and that really is a tribute to Western's defense. Okay, now we're going to see why this is. Watch the block here in the back. Okay, that's the illegal block right there.
Well, there are bad illegal blocks and good ones, and that was a pretty good one. At least he took his man out of the picture. And the official threw the flag, though, and instead of 2nd and 5, it's 1st and 20. Sander, and almost picked off. That ball was thrown behind Kelvin Sander, the tight end, and very nearly picked off by number 36, Chris Bean, or number 38, Mike LaFontaine.
Well, David Earl was walking off the field. He thought it was 3rd down, but he's got another chance at it. 2nd down to 20. I think a lot of people really don't realize that how much experience being in a game like this has, or what it means, because you can focus yourself. I know a lot of the kids from Saskatchewan were here this week, and a lot of new surroundings and all the festivities, and it's difficult sometimes to really get yourself focused on what you're here for.
Earl's going to try to get outside, but he's not going to do it. Now he gets it to Gertner. Gertner still needs to make 9 yards, and he comes pretty close to a 1st down. He came up 2 or 3 yards short. And with 1:58 to play, Brian Tauras is not going to gamble again. He might long remember his first gamble of this football game. And he'll punt it away. Good job by Gertner, and a good job by Earl to outsprint Tony Rustine.
Yeah, not only did he outsprint him, but he tried to plant his feet and get around, and Gardner came back with the football. We'll take a look at Brian Tauras, the coach of the Huskies.
Very confident coming into this game, felt as though his team had handled the pressure well, that his team was not overwhelmed by the Skydome. His best player today has been this man, Mike Luzecki. Kicked every punt well and every punt high. This one not quite as high or long. And Sapunjas takes it at his 27. Sapunjas with all kinds of speed. And Sapunjas is brought down.
You just get that feeling every time David Sapunjas touches the ball. He's that close. He's the Dan Farthing, really, of the Western Mustangs. And
Mark Polzer there to bring him down as he headed to the outside. 12 on the return.
Well, he's trying to get outside of the picket fence. He's trying to cut it up here. And there's some pretty good angles. I mean, Saskatchewan play very good special teams.
Western doesn't have to do anything too fancy. As a matter of fact, offensively, they don't have to do anything right now, just not turn it over. 1:18 to play in what's been an all-Western 3rd quarter. Here's Ford, and Ford finds some room, hurdles over his own man down on the ground. Leading the blocking was little Mike Clausen, and he hurdled over him and picked up 8. It'll be 2nd and 2.
Now again, they run the trap. They run it's what they call the inside trap with a little bit different look on it. So all the flow is going one way, and they give it to the fullback coming back. And
to give you an idea how things have gone for Ford, in his first 8 carries, his longest run was 5. His last 2 have been for 10 and 9. So they're finding more room for Dwayne Ford. I think Ed Carlton got injured and was replaced by, was it this man or is that Sean Gardner? No, he's the starting outside linebacker.
Yeah, I believe it's Gardner.
The replacement for Carlton was number 40, Lane Francis. No question, Western has inflicted some damage on Saskatchewan, both on the scoreboard and also on the field. They've really worked them over well.
And you can see Gardner just came in on the left of your screen and down. It's hard to say whether his head hit the thigh of Dwayne Ford. And
I have to take back what I said. I'm thinking now of the Saskatchewan injuries, and it hasn't really been inflicted by Western when you think of the way guys have got hurt, like that one. And you saw Cal Hobbs get helped down as he was covering a punt and trying to make the tackle. And even the same thing for Ed Carlton. I mean, the injuries have basically been from their over-aggressiveness rather than
correct,
Western beating them up.
Yeah, just, you know, it's just a sport of football. Sometimes you get caught in the wrong position and just walking off under his own steam, which is a good sign. As we see number 1, Todd Baker, backup quarterback for the Huskies, warming up.
He did throw some passes this year, and he got into a number of games, not significant action, so to speak, but games that they had either out of reach in either direction. So he has had a little playing time. Now Western 2nd down and a long yard. Williams to the right, Sapunjas to the left. here's John Wright. Wright just has no problem making the first down, and the big guy keeps rambling, but that time he went to the left side, and he was 8-9 yards deep before anyone touched him.
Well, now they're starting to run off tackle. And there's nothing fancy about that. Just man blocking straight up. John Wright busted through there. Now, John Wright doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, but he's a real workhorse, and you can see it on that particular play, dragging a few players with him.
You know, Gaffney's only thrown 6 passes today. He might not have to throw another one today. Here's Wright, and Wright slips and falls just as he was moving into that Saskatchewan secondary. I guess you'd credit the tackle to Rob Dutton, the All-Canadian, who's been very quiet so far today, nominee for the outstanding defensive player, and or excuse me, the JP Metris, and he's really been well handled by Western.
And Nenad Radulovic in particular, you know, Nenad is a 5th-year player, so he's been around for a while and is fairly experienced, and they masked up pretty well there, because Dutton's about 6'3", 240, but Nenad is 6'6", 265, so you've got some pretty impressive people on both sides of the ball playing.
You know, we were talking about Western and their balanced offense. Consider that Ford has rushed the ball 10 times. Stewart has rushed the ball 10 times. 6 carries for Clausen. Wright has 5 carries, as you've just seen. And right there, you're talking about 4 different players carrying the ball a significant number of times for Larry Haler.
Hey, Chris, you like that? What? Rush in? Would you rather run short side? Hey, I'll come here.
You know, I've got to appreciate what Larry Haler has done for us. The camera there, as you could see, was probably only 3 or 4 feet away. He knows it's there, and he could very easily put a hand up and say, hey, I don't want you there. But I appreciate it, realizing that we're kind of all in this together, and he's allowing our cameras not only to pick up what he's doing, but also the sound as well. Now, tell me, what are they doing?
I don't know. They've changed it about 3 times since then, and that's vintage Larry Haler. I don't know if he's doing it for us or whatever, but he always did when I was a coach there as well. But I think he was looking at calling what they call flanker right scramble, too, which just means you're going to move the running back in the slot back across and maybe try and throw a quick out here.
Be the final play of the 3rd quarter, unless there's a penalty. 2nd down and about 6.5 yards to go. They run Ford up the middle. Ford's got some room. Ford into the secondary. Penalty comes down, and so is Ford. He picked up the 1st down, and I'm not sure whether this will remain a 1st down. Western can't imagine what there could have been called against Saskatchewan there. So you're telling me Haler was the kind of guy where you decide on a call, then as you were running on the field, he'd say, and give you a different call?
Well, we always kid Larry because he gives the signals all the time to the quarterback, and then he'd change it, and he'd give the signal again to the quarterback, and then he'd change it.
Holding, 68 Western.
And then what he would do is he would just wave it off, and he would just yell, Chris, run this particular play or whatever.
So the 3rd quarter has not yet come to an end. Maybe the longest 3rd quarter that I can remember this year. And you heard the voice of Larry Haler saying,
so we know what conference he's representing. Let's go, Larry.
My little Frank Smith that we saw a few weeks ago against when UBC was playing Saskatchewan. Larry Haler wants to know what official called that.
Well, Frank kept saying, it's a Saskatchewan official. You're killing me. You're killing me. Gaffney now 2nd and 16, only thrown 6 passes today. Here's number 7, and it's a completion and very close to a 1st down. Gaffney has been effective, and there's the first reception of the day for number 15 of the Western Mustangs. That's Tiberibby, the All-Canadian. It was an All-Canadian 3rd quarter for the Mustangs. They lead it by 18.
This quality moment in sport is brought to you by Ford of Canada. Ford proudly salutes the ultimate in performance and success.
Wednesday night, Utah, the Jazz playing host to the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan, a 40-point night. Bulls lead by 1, just 3 seconds left. Then Utah's John Stockton has a chance to win it, and he goes all the way. Lays it up and in, game-winning basket. Utah's Stockton goes up. They win it by 1, 108-107.
At Ford, quality is job one.
When it comes to hauling, a lot of full-size pickup trucks claim to be the best. But is it the truck with the longest, deepest cargo box? Or is it the truck with the largest maximum payload? The answer is, it's the truck with both. Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Canada. At Ford, the toughest competition we have is ourselves.
McCain Super Fries. Deep fried flavor and crispness from your oven. For the strong, silent type.
1 quarter of football remaining in this football game. The Western Mustangs are in great position. They lead by 18, and Saskatchewan not only has to contend with the Mustangs, but also injuries. Let's get an update and go to Peter Watts.
Thank you, Michael. Ed Carlton, their fine linebacker, went down a little bit a few minutes ago in the third quarter, has a strained medial collateral ligament in his knee. They are hoping, desperately hoping, that he can come back and play, but right now it doesn't look very optimistic. Guys, you've been talking about the fact that Western has really manhandled Saskatchewan. I think really in the second half, that's the big story.
Well, the big story, I guess, is the fact that all of a sudden Western has begun to run the ball successfully, which they didn't do in the first half.
Well, that's right. You know, we said earlier, they're not going to go away from it. They'll keep pulling the trigger all the time, and that's really been the secret of their success in today's game.
Well, cue the band. They are playing right now and excited because Mustangs have the lead by 18. Saskatchewan's going to get the ball more than likely. Larry Healer actually had his offense on, then pulled them off the field. Third down and close to 2 yards to go. Why gamble? John LeClaire will kick it away. Farthing and Gertner. High, short kick for Farthing. Going to be no yards. So Saskatchewan will get the ball at the 30-yard line. After 3 quarters of play, the score is 28-10. And let's take a look at the third quarter stats and try to see what Western did to achieve that lead, particularly in the third quarter. First downs, their way out in front, net yards as well. And look, now, rushing all of a sudden has passed the passing yardage for Western.
Well, that's a secret right there. They're very balanced right now, and Western like to use the run, set up the pass.
38 yards rushing for Saskatchewan. They had 36 in the first half, so only 2 on the ground in the second half, and another turnover, up to 4 now.
That's really been the story as far as they're concerned, the inability to run the football like they would have liked to have run it, because they're a pretty good running football team, but with the injuries to Hobbs and also to Neufeld.
Brian Towers goes right back to David Earl, does not make the replacement here. Earl throws, and he has a man open down the right sidelines, but Dan Farthing can't catch up to him.
That was the play that we talked about earlier in the first quarter. They try to run that where they bring the inside slot and they run him what they call a bench, and then he gets close to the sideline, about 5 yards away, and he tries to take it up.
I had a comment from a couple of defensive players from a Western school in the West, and I won't mention their names, and they said that, you know, the only guy in our league who sets guys up is Dan Farthing. They say, boy, he'll really play with your mind.
Oh, yeah, he's a great player. I mean, as you see him there coming out of the huddle.
Now, I'm not saying that he is the only guy, but that was the comment made by a couple of players from the West. They say they don't like to play against Dan Farthing. So far, Western hasn't minded it. He has the 1 touchdown, but it's about the only thing that he's got going right now. Earl with some time over the middle, and Earl throws it in behind the intended receiver, Dan Farthing. And let's see if this pushes Brian Towers into a decision apparently he doesn't want to make, and that is to switch from David Earl to Todd Baker.
Well, it's really tough. I mean, you know, Earl's the guy that's gotten you this far, and he struggled a little bit today, and you know, I'm sure that if there's anybody that's disappointed, he's probably the most disappointed, as we see Rob Simchek give him a little word of encouragement.
So often you can say, well, you know, he hasn't played well, and obviously his statistics aren't very good, but I don't think Western's given him a lot to deal with.
No, they haven't. I mean, they've done a very nice job downfield covering the football and rushing them.
Dave Sapunjas done a good job covering Dave Sapunjas, a very dangerous kick returner. Picks up only a few on the return and brings it out to the 54-yard line with 13:21 to play in regulation. And let's get back to what we were talking about. Really, I mean, Earl has thrown a couple of passes that he'd like back, the interceptions in particular, but you know, on that play, for instance, he was throwing to Farthing, who was well covered.
Oh, it was. I mean, well, you know, right now they know that Saskatchewan have to throw the football to get back in this football game. And when you have people that can run on defense, as Western do, they're only rushing 3 people right now. They're dropping everybody off into coverage, and I mean, it's very, very difficult when you're trying to throw into that type of situation, especially when you're a younger quarterback and you really don't have that experience.
First and 10, they fake to Clausen. They want Tyrone Williams. The big guy's going to try to go and get it, and he does. Tyrone Williams using his incredible size to make another catch. And this one was against Dean Iwanger, I believe. I think they've made a change at cornerback. It's number 12, Iwanger, not Brown.
Well, they're running bootleg action here. They pull the front side guard. Chris gets around and throws a real nice pass out here and leads Tyrone outside. And again, Tyrone uses his size. He goes up because Iwanger was right on him. I mean, that's just a great catch and just a nice catch.
There's big Tyrone Williams, who's been one of the stars today for Western, lining up wide to the left. And here's Rob Stewart. And Stewart, in the second half, has all of a sudden found some running room. Let's tell you about the day so far that Tyrone Williams has had. He's made 5 receptions for 155 yards. Wow, and a touchdown as well. And we'll start talking about trophy winners and most valuable players, and Tyrone Williams certainly has to be a candidate.
No, he's been one of the most explosive players on the field today.
The word coaches use a lot, Jamie, is set up. I like to set them up, use the run to set up the pass. And hasn't that really been the case today for Western?
No.
Only 8 passes for Chris Gaffney in the football game, but each one very effective.
I think that's really been the history of their program. I know when I was a first-year player at Western, we'd only throw the ball maybe 12 or 13 times a game because we had such a good run game that we didn't have to. And
was it the run game or a lack of confidence in the quarterback?
I think it was lack of confidence in the quarterback in those days.
Here's Dwayne Ford, the big guy, shows you a nice cut and picks up close to a first down. And now Western is really close to being able to call this one a win. 28-10 with 11:57 to play.
Well, as you take a look at Dwayne's helmet at the top, you can tell he takes a lot of licks on his hat, but boy, they're just opening up some pretty big holes here now. And
that's a great cut by a big player. He
really
changed direction almost 90 degrees. Ford in with John Wright, the 2 big running backs for Western. Gaffney gives it to Wright, and Wright, who scored 2 touchdowns last week against St. Mary's on just a couple of carries, takes it for the first down, not into the end zone, but down to about the 2-yard line.
We look at a young Husky fan.
He might be the only Husky fan here smiling. Saskatchewan Huskies have really been beaten in every department right now. You know, there are games where I think a coach can leave feeling, as Larry Utek did last week, that if given another shot, they could beat them. John Wright, and he runs into a wall, the right side of that defense, and also the left side of his offensive line never moved as well. Penalty down at the time of the snap, so somebody was offside. But, you know, I was saying that last week, Larry Utek said, you know, I really feel as though we could beat that football team. I don't think, at this point, Brian Towers can say that about Western.
No, I think right now, just the physical side of the game, I think Western are really getting into them.
First down.
But, you know, the key to that, though, Michael, is getting into people, really. It's taking away the flow from Saskatchewan's defense. I mean, they really flow well with the ball. They react well to the ball. But when you start running counter trap and you start running outside, I mean, it forces a lot of people to have to stay at home. And when you stay at home, you can get into people.
Offside against Saskatchewan, so it's 1st and goal from the 1. Wright and Ford in the backfield in behind Chris Gaffney. Gaffney keeps it himself. And now Gaffney has scored more touchdowns as a quarterback on the ground than anyone in Vanier Cup history. He has 3. 3 carries for 6 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Well, just a straight-off quarterback sneak, just trying to go off the left hip of Mike Dumaresque, the big center, number 52. And I'm sure Gary DeMann at St. Francis High School has to be very happy right now out in Calgary, Alberta. See one of his alumni playing in the Vanier Cup. He had a number last year when the Calgary Dinosaurs were here.
Again, it has been a game that has been dominated by the quarterback, but it's been a game where Gaffney has done everything that they've asked him to do.
That's right.
One of the things they've asked him to do is run the ball down near the goal line, and he has successfully 3 times. And on the subject of successful, Steve McCann's conversion is 35-10. The Western Mustangs on the verge of their 5th Vanier Cup title.
Hello, Ralph.
Imagine visiting yourself in the future.
Hi. Hi. You're me. We're us. 25 years later. How are we? Fine. We living down here? Winters, yeah. How can we afford it? Freedom 55.
Freedom 55. Protection today, plus a financial program that works, so one day you won't have to. Freedom 55. Talk to a London Life representative.
That'll be for you.
Welcome back to the beautiful Sky Dome in Toronto, where the Western Mustangs are now rolling over the University of Saskatchewan Huskies 35-10. Larry Utek, I think for Saskatchewan, the big question mark coming into this game, would David Earl be able to accomplish something through the air? And he has had a pretty tough day.
Yes, he has. He's had a great season all year. He's played well, and he's one of the reasons that Saskatchewan's in this game today. But today he hasn't been able to exploit the weaknesses of in the Western secondary. We've had some open receivers, and he just hasn't been able to hit them. Last week, Western had similar lead over St. Mary's, and I think that we still have a hope of coming back because there is some weakness in the Western secondary. But so far, he hasn't been able to make the best of it.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Michael?
Well, it's been problems for Earl and no problem at all for the Western offense in the second half. And again, it didn't come easily for Western as you look at this scoring drive. 56 they've now scored on their last two possessions. But, Jamie, things haven't come easily for Western. It took them a while to figure out what Saskatchewan was doing. Dimtrition at his 16-yard line, and he's out to the 32, and it's no surprise that he found it tough going. And will there be a change at quarterback? I'd imagine there will be, and yes, there is, as Todd Baker will come in at quarterback for Saskatchewan. Not a good day for David Earl, but in defense of Earl, not a good day for the offense in general. Western has just defensed it well.
Well, what will be interesting to see here now is if Western try to follow that same thing that they did last week and start making a lot of changes defensively and offensively and getting some of their other people in the football game, because college football is such, Michael, that we've seen a lot of games this year. It can go right down to the wire, and teams can score pretty quick.
Baker throws on the run and takes a tremendous hit. Boy, was he ever belted by number 13 of the Western Mustangs, Ed Bumbers.
Well, Ed Bumbers was the starter at the beginning of the year and had a number of injuries throughout the season, and now he's back.
Now, I'm more willing often to concede victory. Last week, I thought that St. Mary's had it wrapped up, and you said, hey, wait a second, this one isn't wrapped up. And indeed, you were correct. It was a close game, although Western did end up winning it. But I'm not so sure that I can learn from my mistake next week and say that this game isn't over. 9:42 to play, 25-point lead, and last time I checked, Saskatchewan does not have Chris Flynn.
Well, that's true.
They've got Todd Baker, and Baker throws and completes it to Gertner for a gain of 14 and a first down.
Well, Baker's a left-handed quarterback, too, and a little bit of a change. And so his dominant side is obviously going to be the left side of the defense, or left side of the offense, I should say. And
now, is that a right-handed quarterback looks right first?
Well, I think he feels more comfortable throwing right because when he throws, it's easier to open his hips up. And when it's easier to open your hips up and throwing the football, you can usually get a lot more velocity on it.
I think someone at home who's never played football would say, how do you open your hips? I can see.
By stepping, it's making sure that your hips face the receiver that you're throwing.
Four-man rush this time. Saskatchewan protects pretty well. Farthing drops the ball. That time, Baker put it right to him. The first ever Vanier Cup appearance for the Saskatchewan Huskies. First ever appearance, of course, for David Earl, and the expression on his face tells you who's going to win this game. Not David Earl. Might be a while before Saskatchewan's back. They have a lot of players that won't be back next year. They have a lot of older players. Only one down lineman now for Western, two rush ends. Here comes the rush from Bumbers. And finishing the play off is number 66, Dan Lane.
But when you have defensive linemen like Dan Lane that can run like that, I mean, it's really got to be tough for you. I mean, Dan Lane's 6'3", 230, but he moves like a linebacker. I mean, he just outruns Todd Baker, hauls him down.
I'll tell you, you're in real trouble, though, when the team can rush three men and get to the quarterback like that. You know, that means
you're right about that.
You got 9 guys to cover.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful kick by Lezecki. I mean, it is up in the rafters. Here's Sapunjas. And David's been close to breaking a couple, but still has not found the big one that he wants. Picked up 8 on the return of a Lezecki kick, which once again is high and 38 yards deep. I told by Sean Leckie, who's handling our statistics today.
Hey, Chris!
46 yards, passing the information to me.
Hey, Chris! Flanker right, 54! Go.
Okay, they're going off tackle here. They're going to go off tackle right with Dwayne Ford. If it's flanker right, 54. And it's just going to be a straight man blocking scheme, and you'll watch the fullback come up to the ball here. Nothing fancy about that play, Michael. They're just getting into people right now and just playing power football.
The thing about that play that jumped out at me was the sound. Boy, you could hear that pop from our camera and our microphone down at field level. Dwayne Ford, I think, likes the sound of that pop. Second and 6. Tyrone Williams tries to reach over the head of Errol Brown, and they're going to call pass interference on somebody. It could have gone either way. Williams was, and I gather from the reaction of Phil Giebert that it's going to go against Tyrone Williams and the Western offense. They'll probably refuse it, and Western will have to kick it away.
Offensive pass interference, number 18, Western.
Now, Chris should be putting the ball deep outside here so that Tyrone can go and get it. Now, he throws it on the line. He doesn't want to do that. Oh, I don't know how you can... I don't know, Michael. I don't see you call that pass interference at all. The guy's just trying to put his arms around to get to the football.
I'm not quite sure why. Now, what was the call there?
I believe, let me see. I got to go back and remember my signal.
You think about it. Let me ask you this. Why?
They said they're running streak here anyway. I think that's what they're going to run.
Why would they take the penalty there? It would have been third down and 6, and they would have had to kick it away. Now it's 2nd and 20. And they are running streak, as you say, but pass intended for Clausen, not Tyrone Williams, and well broken up by Phil Giebert. You know why he was an all-star now. Giebert all over the football.
Now, Phil Giebert's in his 2nd year of the NBA program at the University of Saskatchewan. And he was telling me that the first couple of teams that he went out with, the Hilltops, he was not big enough to play initially, and the junior team out in Saskatoon. And he always had a problem with his size, but he said he got a little bit older. He managed to put on some more weight, and he's turned into be a great defensive back for the Saskatchewan Huskies.
10 interceptions on the regular season. John Leclerc has been out-punted by Mike Luzecki, but hasn't hurt the Western Mustangs, at least on the scoreboard. 35-10. Here's a nice kick. Beautiful tight spiral. Farthing. And Farthing has been well contained by the Western Mustangs. You have to say, even with the 1 touchdown, they've shut them down well. It's all Mustangs from Skydome.
Night, dear.
Honey, I think I've the living room light on.
I'll get it.
Oh, the kitchen, too.
Got it.
Control the lights from anywhere in your house. Just buy $25 worth of Stanley tools, and we'll send you a light maker control unit and lamp module worth $54.95, free.
Oh, did you leave the light on for Chris?
Of course I did. Also, enter the Stanley Tools Secret to Security contest with over 75 prizes, including a Chevy truck, at participating Stanley dealers.
Welcome back to the Skydome in Toronto, the 1989 Vanier Cup, where there's a little over 6 minutes remaining. Things do not look good for the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. Larry Utek, you and I really think in the 4th quarter, probably the biggest key of the ball game has been the first down production for the Western offense. It seems like time and time again, Chris Gaffney, the quarterback, has had 2nd and short, and that makes his life pretty easy.
Well, it certainly does. I don't think Larry Haler could have scripted the game any better if he had tried. The game's gone their way. They've been allowed to stay within their game, within themselves, as they say in sports. They've been running the ball consistently, as you say. 2nd down, 1, 2 is right into their hands. They can run the ball right up the middle, and if necessary, they've mixed in the odd play action wide.
All right, Michael and Jamie, that's how we see it from our spot here at Sightlines.
The way I see it when I look up at the scoreboard is 6:13 to play in the Vanier Cup, 35-10. It might be foolish to call that 6:13 to play in regulation time, because regulation time is going to be all there is. There will be no overtime today because the Mustangs have dominated Saskatchewan. They really took control late in the 2nd quarter, early in the 3rd quarter. Todd Baker over the middle, completes it to Lauren Keene. Keene, not a starter for Saskatchewan, but an all-star in the West. Started for Dan Farthing when he was hurt. Had 31 passes on the year, and now makes his second reception of the day.
Well, that must be tough. I mean, Lauren Keene, you play all year, and granted, Dan Farthing is the best player, probably one of the best players in the West. He was up for the Heck Crichton nominee last year. And to be involved all season long, and then at the end of the year not to play very much because the great Dan Farthing comes back, must be very frustrating.
Second down and just about an inch for Saskatchewan, and it's intended for Sander, but he can't make the catch, and it'll be third down and just about an inch. You're talking about how they have limited the Saskatchewan running game. So far today, Terry Eisler, the main man, 9 carries for 22 yards. Simchuk only 1 carry for 2 yards. They got 14 yards on a run by Farthing, and that's the only successful running play that they've had today. And Farthing through the air, just 2 receptions for 11 yards. Third and inches, and they're going to throw, and Eisler almost makes an amazing catch. Boy, he did everything in his power to make the catch.
Oh, yeah, that was a great athletic play alone to get his hand on the football, and he almost came down with it.
Now, the guy who's frustrated on this play is number 75. He thought the ball was to him.
Yeah, Rob Revering, yeah. Oh, what a nice, oh.
Look at Revering. He says, you had to make the tough one. I could have made it easy.
That's right. Exactly, or why didn't you tip the ball my way?
4:57 to play. Western's got the ball in.
Rob Revering's got a little smile on his face, even though they are getting beat.
I think he knew the coach had his back to him. Turnovers obviously very important because Western has capitalized each time Saskatchewan's turned the ball over. Wayne Ford doesn't find much, and good opportunity with 4:36 to play to say thanks to you and tell you how much I have enjoyed broadcasting with you. We don't want to get too much into the padding of the back, so why don't we just leave it at this and say I think you've done a great job. You brought a side of Canadian college football that most people have never known before. You brought insight that I hadn't heard from anybody else, and it's been a pleasure for me.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, Michael. It's been a real pleasure, and let's hope I'm back next year. Hey, I just saw the signals here, Larry Haler. They're going to run sweep here with the slot back. Mike Clausen's going to carry the ball to the left side.
And if he doesn't...
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Robbie Stewart to the right side.
And I'll tell you what, you're not back next year because you blew it, buddy. Well, they blow it down, do they? No. Saskatchewan gets the ball. 3:57 to play, but they trail it by 25 points.
Well, these are the kind of breaks that Saskatchewan would have loved to have had in the first half when the game was a little bit closer. Robbie Stewart taking the sweep. Actually goes off Pat Mann's shoulder when he gets stripped of the ball, and number 77, Scott Hunseth, there to recover the football.
Turnover is so important. That one not important because of the time of the game. Western had made only 1 turnover to this point, and that was on downs. And it was in a position where a punt might not have been the best thing either. So Western playing error-free football. Here's Lauren Keene with a reception, and he's close to a first down. But the Mustangs, when the game was on the line, really did nothing to beat themselves.
Now they play pretty sound football today. They didn't turn the ball over very much. There we see the stats. Saskatchewan 5 turnovers to Western's 2.
Todd Baker in a quarterback. He has the first down. And Eisler picks up 10 yards. Is that his longest run of the day? You bet that's his longest run of the day. His longest before that was 7 yards, so he's now up to 32 yards rushing. And you know that with those statistics, Saskatchewan simply can't win.
I was really surprised when we look at Eisler here now that they didn't try to run that a little bit more in the first half. I know that at times, you know, sometimes you get it stuffed, it doesn't work, but it's worked so well for them all season long. Just because a team stops it maybe once or twice, you don't go away from it. And Eisler's a great running back, and they should have been giving him the ball a little bit more today.
Second down and 1. This is Dim Trishan, and he picks up close to a first down. We'll find out whether he has the first down. When we return to Skydome in Toronto, the 25th anniversary Vanier Cup will go to Western.
Now the final chapter, students, in Bosworth's book of etiquette, personal hygiene. I suggest right guard sport from Gillette, maximum protection, and a fresh scent. Anything less would be uncivilized.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps?
Clinically proven Back Guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain.
Amazing. Something down here can help up here.
New Back Guard from Dr. Scholl's.
Well, as we wind down this 1989 Vanier Cup from the Sky Dome in Toronto, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Larry Utek, the head coach of St. Mary's, for being with us on the broadcast today. Larry, nice to have you with us, and best of luck in 1990. I know you're going to make another appearance at the Vanier Cup yourself.
I certainly hope so. This marks 3 years in a row that we've lost just one game in a season, and that has been to the winner.
All right, thanks, Larry. Peter Watts, how are things down on the sidelines?
Well, there's pretty good atmosphere, Leaf. The Western Mustang fans get ready to celebrate a Vanier Cup that will snap a 4-game losing streak in this particular game. Western will win its 5th Vanier Cup in about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. One note about Cal Hobbs, people looking in from Saskatoon should know he's fine, resting comfortably back underneath the stands in the locker room. He was shaken up in the second quarter, I believe it was, or early in the third. He'll be okay. He's been x-rayed. Everything's fine. He won't play any more football today, but he's going to be fine.
Thanks, Peter. Good job getting the medical diagnosis, not just on Hobbs, but all of the players. And Peter said there was a good atmosphere on the Western bench, and there you see some of the atmosphere. A lot of purple faces here, a lot of purple faces with smiles today. Have you ever, Jamie Bone, painted your face purple?
Not that I'm aware of, Michael. Now, I know it might have happened a time when I wasn't aware of it, but not when I was aware of it.
1st and 10 from the 38-yard line. Saskatchewan just trying to make it more respectable. Gertner makes the catch, breaks a tackle, then can't break the tackle of Mike LaFontaine. Not many do. And Gertner picks up 8. It'll be 2nd down and 2. 2:21 to play, and I was mentioning what a pleasure it's been working with you, but also with our producer, Bruce Perry, one of the most creative people in the business. It's a pleasure working with him and having him bring his insights and giving each game a particular flavor. And Henry Pasilla, our director, as well. It's been a lot of fun this season. Gertner picked up 8. It'll be 2nd down and 2. As Terry Eisler has his gain limited to only a couple, and there was Mike LaFontaine's sideline to sideline range as he brought Eisler down short of the 1st down.
You know, Michael, when we're doing our broadcast this year, I think that I'd like to take this opportunity right now just to thank a lot of the football coaches from the institutions. They've been a great help in giving us all sorts of information, and also the sports information directors at the CIAU member institutions. Without those guys really giving us the goods, so to speak, we couldn't have done the job that we did this season. So special thanks to you guys. 3rd down and 2 for Saskatchewan.
And Eisler is a great receiver who can make the circus catch, but not even he could make that one. Western will get the ball and maybe be able to run out the clock on this Vanier Cup. The first ever at the Sky Dome. The attendance today, most impressive, 32,877. That is, of course, a Vanier Cup record. And certainly, if you judge on this year alone, this event belongs in this outstanding facility.
No, really, it's been a great week here. I think Vanier Cup Festival is really becoming one of the top sporting events in this country.
And we're happy that we have it on TSN. It's our first year that we've been able to bring it to you. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. We hope it's been different than something you've seen other times. Not necessarily better, but different. The TSN way, so to speak. We hope it's better as well.
Well, there are going to be a lot of happy people in London this evening.
I think there are a lot of happy people in Toronto who are from London.
That's right.
Probably all across the country. London grads everywhere. A lot of them are here today. One of the big boosts the Vanier Cup got, and I say this with a bit of hesitation with Larry Utek listening, but was when Western won. I mean, clearly there'd be more attendance with Western in than St. Mary's. Chris Gaffney to Rob Stewart. And let me play Jamie Bone on that play. He got his hips turned upfield. He was squared to the line of scrimmage and able to get the good yardage.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the secret of playing running back. You've got to make sure that when you get the ball and you start to go around the corner, you want to be going north-south, and that's up and down the field, not east-west. If those shoulders turn, you can cut any different number of ways when your shoulders are going upfield. I'm glad you've been listening, though, Michael. That tells me that you've been learning a few things this year in the broadcast.
First and 10 now for the Mustangs. Time winding down. John Wright leads the way for the first carry of the game for number 30 of the Western Mustangs. That's Matt Dickey, who carried the ball a couple times during the regular season.
First-year player out of London Catholic Central, who they think is going to be an outstanding back in their program in the next couple of years. He will probably take Rob Stewart's spot next year when Rob Stewart graduates.
He's played 5 years, correct?
Rob Stewart is all through. This is the pinnacle, really, of his career.
What other losses will there be for Western?
They will lose a few people, I believe. Offensive lineman Nenad Radulovic will be gone. Mike Dumaresque is in his 5th year. That really should be it in terms of people. Maybe David Sapundzis will go to the CFL next year. No one's really quite sure.
But, you know, I was saying to you before the game.
Number 62, Western.
This was off camera. One of the things that impresses me about Western is that while other schools go through rebuilding years where they're just down and out, don't do anything and write it off simply to rebuilding, it seems like the Mustangs don't ever do that. Now consider Larry Haler's lifetime record. 56 wins. Now make it 57. 9 losses and 1 tie. 57 and 9. That's incredible.
Oh, it really is incredible. Larry's done a heck of a job there. And, you know, there are a few detractors in the last number of years saying that, you know, Larry couldn't win the big one and everything else. Well, I'm sure he's quieted a lot of them. As we look at Larry now, he must be feeling absolute harmony. Native of Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and attended U of S. And let me see Brian Towers on the other side, who actually joined the University of Saskatchewan in the year that Larry Haler left in '73. I think Brian was a freshman there in '74. He's an outstanding defensive end.
25 seconds to play. And here's Mike Clausen, and Clausen out over midfield as the Mustangs try to literally run out the clock. And there being so many penalties that it's been pretty tough to do. Larry Haler with a hint of a smile, still signaling in the play. The big splash, not on Larry Haler, Bob LaRose. I think the defensive guy splashed him and the offensive guy splashed Larry Haler, right? You have splash specialists. Penalty against the Mustangs, so unfortunately the clock will not continue to tick. They've really done their best to try to run it out, but it's taken a while. Matt Dickey again carrying the ball, and this should be the last play of the 1989 Vanier Cup, the first ever played indoors.
Well, I want to see if Chris Gaffney does what he did last week in the last play where he just knelt down, but he threw the ball away. I don't think he's going to throw the ball away. I think that's going to his trophy case after this game.
He may have to fight a couple of other guys for the ball, but of course, he'll be the last one to touch it. The best fake of the game for Chris Gaffney. Larry Haler has got his Vanier Cup. Western lost in '79 and '82. Haler took over. They lost in '85. They came so close in 1986. People said that Haler couldn't win the big game. Well, maybe in the past he couldn't, but Larry Haler has won the biggest game in this country. Haler and the Western Mustangs win the 1989 Vanier Cup, and they did it in the second and third quarters when they simply physically beat the Saskatchewan Huskies. The Western Mustangs can celebrate it. It is a big load off their back. They win it, and they won it easily by 25. We'll return to Skydome right after this.
A message from one Honda owner to another. Take the Honda you so fondly cherish and perform this simple addition. And 3 to 4 years down the road, you'll happily find that the sum of the parts nicely adds up.